See, we got quite a few people. Mr. Charles, Mozman, or at least you guys are in the chat. And I think we got a few other people viewing right now. Of course, that's going to pick up here in just a minute. So let me go around the horn real quick. You guys just met David Moots of D Moots Photography. He's in here with us tonight. Of course, Mr. Jeffrey Neville of Selective Imagery. Just got to watch another video from Jeffrey here recently. But the star tonight, and I say star because one of the articles talks about him being a rock star photographer, Mr. Sanjit. And everybody welcome Mr. Sanjit into the chat tonight, and he's ready to talk to you guys about what he does. John Ishii just jumped in here in the chat.
Hello,
hey,
John.
tell Diana we said happy birthday, John. Absolutely. I did not know it was her birthday.
Yep, happy birthday.
All right, Sanjit. So look, tell everybody that's in here now who you are, where you're at, and what you do, sir.
Good evening, I reckon. I gotta get used to saying to good evening because it's
you can say morning because we're used to it because we have an international audience and it's a different time everywhere, brother.
Right, so
you can't go wrong.
A good day, everyone. I'm currently in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. It's Malaysia. It's on the peninsula side, which I currently am at right now. It's pretty much in between Singapore and Thailand, if you're familiar with that peninsula that's over there. And I've been photographing nature and wildlife for about 20 years. Actually, this year is my 20th year, 2 decades photographing nature and wildlife. And throughout that course, it was more of a discovery for me because I used to just go out there and shoot everything and anything. And until someday, I started engaging with the experts to try to figure out or try to learn more about the subjects that they were documenting for their research. And only then I figured out that it's just more than taking pretty pictures of birds or otters or elephants. There's so much more to it, and it's actually given me a new lease in life to go out and photograph for a bigger purpose, a bigger picture.
Hey, Sanjit, I don't know what's happened. I still have you fine, but so many others are saying that your video's gone wonky. It's fine on my end. I have no idea why.
I'm looking at the YouTube stream right now. Yeah, and his video is all broken up.
Yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, I see everybody all right, actually.
Hang on a second. I'm going to turn you off. I'm going to turn off the feed and turn it right back on for you. All right, we'll see if it comes back. Give it a second. I have no idea.
There you go. It's clear now.
Everybody got it back? Okay.
Yeah, I don't see it on my screen, unfortunately, but that could be, I don't know. It's always something strange with my screen anyway.
All right, everybody says it's good. Sorry about that, Sanjit. I have no idea what it was, but YouTube's been aggravating us here lately too. But you're good now, sir. Go ahead.
It's a Pink Floyd laser show. Well, everyone is looking fine and sounding pretty good on my side. So I hope that we can move on.
All right,
but
sir.
Yeah, hang in there. I mean, if we freeze up or anything, I'm always happy to track back and tell you more stories. So, in summary, I finally found my calling in the world of photography to contribute back to conservation from the images that I take. And we also, as for myself, I do engage with a lot of conservation experts that work with different species of wildlife. And I get the opportunity to go out with them on their expeditions and document for them because not everyone is allowed into the forest and especially research sites in Malaysia, and that's where the magic happens. Getting permits is one of the most important things that you need to do, or else you could just get arrested for it. So walking around with your camera anywhere in the forest is not a walk in a park, but however, don't be sad about it. There are still so many national parks that are open to public that you can still go to. There's no difference really from the wildlife species that you'll get all throughout the peninsula of Malaysia. Because when you talk about large animals, large wildlife species such as wide-ranging birds or elephants or otters, they tend to roam around. So, when you're lucky, you will be able to spot a tremendous amount of wildlife no matter where you are in Malaysia.
Okay. Well, it's the same thing here. We have parks where you have to actually purchase a pass to get into or whatever certain areas. Um, but I mean, for the most part, there are plenty of places here that people can go shoot that's open to the public and everything else. But as Jeffrey's encountered, often it's just so crowded when you go to some of those locations. David, you find that to be the same?
Oh yeah, the parks that where you're paying typically, yeah, you're going to run into a lot more people. But the good thing is, in those parks, most of the creatures you're taking pictures of are used to people, so your opportunities are a lot more. There's a lot more opportunity for photos.
So that's a question for you from Mozman, Sanjit. Do
Yeah.
you have to pay for these or?
Generally, yes, permits as a visitor to a park do cost money. They're not too much. I mean, 4 ringgit is what, a dollar, maybe even 75 cents US. At certain parks at 10 ringgit. Uh, it's pretty much our currency is divided by four. So it's about $2.50 US. It helps with the park maintenance, upkeeping, upgrades, and it helps uh, as a record of people, the number of people going to the park and number of people coming out, because we do not want anyone getting lost in there. Certain areas of the parks may have been cordoned off for research, and
Oh, okay.
certain areas that are bordering other countries, like in the northern peninsula, we are bordering with Thailand, and in Borneo, we are bordering with Kalimantan, Indonesia. Those are restricted areas because eh, the military do a lot of patrolling there to ensure nothing dodgy is going on.
Okay. So you can get permits though. You have to apply for permits to go into those restricted areas or those
Uh,
research areas.
we are not allowed in any restricted areas, but research areas are sanctioned off by the state parks and the state governments, where researchers are allowed to roam around freely in this area. And
Okay.
areas are also protected sites as high conservation wildlife value sites.
So you said you're getting ready to travel. Where are you going to?
Mm, I hope to go up to Taipei, up north. It's pretty much a 4 hour drive, which is all right. Certain parts of the drive is scenic. There has been reports of a couple of hornbill species nesting close to the city. So I thought, I go out there and investigate and see where those natural cavities are, and talk to some locals and see if they're finding it to be an issue or they welcome the species. Part of the Hornbill project that we're involved in is actually to encourage uh, the nesting and breeding of hornbills, not only in the forest, but in forested areas that could be close to touristy sites. So it kind of like instills the pride in the locals that are around that area to bring the tourists and show them these beautiful birds.
Here in America, because we've grown so large, the cities have continued to expand. It's taken up space, and I don't want to get into all the controversy over conservation with that. But a lot of species are now living in or on the borders of a lot of big cities. I mean, we're seeing a lot of hawks and things like that that are nesting in the city. And, you've got raccoons that are rural raccoons now. They live in downtown, wherever. So we're seeing a lot of that here. Is that something that you see in Malaysia? And if it is that becoming an issue, or how you dealing with that?
Um, yes, actually, just right in between the lockdowns, we had a lot of raptors coming to public parks, and it was kind of fun to photograph them because they were copulating and they were also building their nest up on trees. Where I live right now, I can't really tilt the monitor camera all the way up, but civets living in my roof. So so yeah, I would kind of like need to call someone to like shoo them away to a safe area, and they most probably, I mean, they bit off part of the roof to get in and start nesting in there. So
Right,
you gotta get,
right.
you gotta get that fixed before it floods the office when it rains.
The reason I ask that is because if you're going up there to basically study or watch or do some research on the condors up there, and you talked about them being in rural, or not rural, but city or near the city or whatever. I just wondered if that's some kind of migration that's going on in Malaysia. Here in America, I mean, everybody wonders, well, what do they eat as far as raptors are concerned? Well, the pigeons become fantastic a food source for them, which I don't think anybody argues with, getting rid of some of the pigeons. But I just wondered if it was the same thing that's happening there.
Um, Not really. I mean, yeah, during the lockdowns, yes, we've had reports. We've had a lot of friends of ours are patrollers, and they patrol the forest, so they're allowed to go out there and work. They do. We did see quite a number of wildlife approaching the cities. Not really the migratory ones, but unfortunately, the wildlife were curious enough, and when we were allowed to travel, the number of roadkills spiked. And this is from my personal observation. It's not a written paper or a official statement yet, but from my personal observation, I realized that the number of roadkills just spiked up, and um, we did not get a lot of migratory birds, but I guess also because since no one were really allowed to go out there and do research, so that data is not there at the moment. Hornbill access to mature trees, counties.
Hey, before you answer that,
Yeah.
you got to loosen up, man. You got to loosen up with us here. We're family. I don't know if you're just tense or whatever. We're live, yes, but that's okay. You be you, and I got a feeling you're not being you right now. Am I correct?
I'll get there.
All
Yes.
right, all right. So just feel free, let
I
it
just
go,
wanted
man.
to comment and let everybody in the chat know that, I mean, Chuck was nice enough to leave links for your website and stuff like that, and people should go and look at your work. I mean, I went and I looked at it for a good hour or so this afternoon, and I was really blown away by your work. I mean, you're just not capturing what's in the environment, but the environment overall, everything. I mean, you've got landscapes, you've got waterscapes, you've got plants and birds and insects and reptiles, and you name it. You're capturing everything that's around you, and it's a great body of work that you have. And I just want to let you know that it's phenomenal. I mean, I have never seen a hornbill. I couldn't believe how many pictures and of how many different types of hornbills there were. And then when I looked at your plants that you had posted, one picture was a minimalist type of photograph of a leaf with a small mushroom growing up from the leaf, and I just love that picture and its simplicity, and the lighting was great, and I just want to commend you on your work. It's very, very nice.
I
Cheers,
think
mate. Thank you so much.
absolutely. And I think it's what everybody's here for. So without further ado, if you want to address this question now, or you want to talk about it as you go through some of your photos, I know you're set up there and ready to go to share your screen. It's up to you.
I actually do have a section on hornbills and part of the photos, but yeah, I mean, perhaps I could answer that in between.
Okay. Whenever you like.
I'm going to leave and come back, Chuck, because I still don't have a video feed for Sanjit at all. So I'm going to see if it comes back.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll keep an eye out for you.
All
All
right.
right,
So,
Sanjit, you ready to share your screen here?
yeah, I hope you see that little cartoon that's up there.
Hang on a second. All right, here we go.
All right.
Now, for those of you that are watching, you're going to have to go full screen or whatever to be able to see when we share a screen like this. For Mozman, who's probably watching it on his TV, it's easier. All right, Sanjit, it's all yours, man.
All right. So, yeah, here's a little cartoon I commissioned a friend to get this done because there's so many things that's happening with the hornbills that I within Malaysia itself, and primarily I work with Gaia, with the hornbill expert in Malaysia, who also happens to be my wife.
All
And
right.
quite a number of things happen, and a lot of the elements that is in this commission artwork represents what happened during those trips. Um, yeah, you see the guns, you see the chainsaws, you see a very angry bird on a boat. Uh, the fish is just there by chance. I did not curate the fish, but I thought it's pretty cool in there.
Yeah,
But
I like it.
yeah, 20 years now, and 2022, just celebrating my 20th year as a wildlife photographer. And I just used to be calling myself a wildlife photographer because I just go out there and photograph all kinds of wildlife. But then, it kind of like expanded from one thing to another. And I was always documenting nature, and I'm also documenting for conservation. So, so hence the long, very, very long title, Nature, Wildlife, and Conservation Photographer. I'm open to ideas on how to summarize it. Would be great if someone can give me a very nice, quirky um, title in the comments. Go crazy with it. But it was during the pandemic when we actually had a lot of time, and I started out cleaning the house front to back, left to right, and did that twice. And eventually got some hard drive casings, tried to revive a lot of old works, and eventually this just came out, and we had a lot of time to reflect and ponder. So I just pen this down, and it reflects what I truly do and what I truly believe to achieve, which is my responsibility towards the natural heritage, the societies that depend on them, and the entire race of the living. And at any time that we are documenting um, wildlife, especially when hornbills are nesting. I'm always working with two camera bodies. One is primarily for stills, and the other one is for videos. And occasionally, I swap lenses in between. If I'm working with two Nikon bodies, then no problem swapping between a 7200 with an extender on, and then back to my 600. So and sometimes as well, one of the camera bodies will be a crop sensor body, just for the videos you get a better enough reach, and sometimes just to take pictures, because documenting what they bring back to the nest is part of the job. And of course, hiking with all this gear is also part of the job.
Well, let
uh,
me ask you this: what are you doing this for? I mean,
Mm.
All right, just trying to put the whole picture together here. Are you doing it out of just the love? I know you love it, but is it just out of love, or are you doing this as part of research, where it's part of your living, or how's that work?
Um, Firstly, because I love it, but of course,
Okay,
that doesn't grant you access and gives you a good enough reason to go into many places that are unreachable.
right,
So I work together with a lot of NGOs, a lot of conservation experts that they actually need visual documentation for their reports. And um, what we've actually discovered by having me on site is I'm always wanting to photograph or capture behavior that's never been captured before. Um, some of the experts have been studying their wildlife species for over decades, and I one of my first questions to them is always, you know, through literature that this behavior has happened before, and but have you seen it, have you recorded it? And most of them said no. And that gives me that extra push, that extra adrenaline rush, just to try to capture that. And we've been pretty successful in that, actually. With film hornbills behavior that has been written down in literature before, but has never been really documented well on photos or videos. Um, so that is what I'm doing here. Of course, and during downtime, just sit down and write your own notes, penning your own thoughts, writing your book if you can. But that is was pretty much my position for 45 days in 2019.
okay.
Um, that we went out for expedition. I've got more pictures to share on that one.
Oh,
And
absolutely. And I want to get to your photos because I know everybody's waiting to see that. But just throughout this chat, if you would, for those, because we have a lot of people in the audience that shoot wildlife, birds, and everything else. But
yeah,
anybody that wanted to break into making that their income source, how does that work? I know it's tough, and you have to make a name for yourself, and or I don't know. You tell us when as we go through. Just let us know if Here's how I got my break. Here's how I got started with this group or whatever. If you would.
huh. um, yeah. I think it was back in 2006. My early days of photography, and I managed to get sponsorship from a camera company. I mean, from Olympus, and they actually thought I was crazy enough to go out there and do something different, because anyone that requests for sponsorship from a camera company, from what I've realized down here in Malaysia, is they're either doing spots, doing wedding, doing street photography, uh, the very common stuff.
Right.
And so from a friend, friend to a friend to a friend, the word got out, and I just sent in a deck, and they said, yeah, we are keen on what you do. uh, it was my very first time seeing a helmeted hornbill deep in the forest, and it was nesting. I did not know two sides of the coin of what's going on there. It's just a bird coming to a hole in a tree and dropping fruits. Like how a squirrel would hide his fruits. But I didn't know there would be a female in there or a chick in there. And that shot somehow rather got circulated around the world uh, with my name on it. And so further down the line, I started attending conferences. I was assisting my girlfriend back then, and she was with a nature society. She was doing her masters on it. um, well, she's now my wife, so we go back a long way. uh, yeah, just engaging with people that are in the similar industry, because um, I know from various industry, perhaps your style might fit, perhaps it might not. But when you keep engaging with the folks and gaining the trust of the directors of the NGOs, and the government officials, because we get a lot of photographers, we get a lot of requests from photographers to come in and take shots, but their intentions for those shots are what really matters. And if you can be very clear of those intentions and not afraid to share those pictures, share meaning with sharing rights of those pictures to the experts in the field, the government officials, the directors of the NGOs, give them free will to publish it anywhere, of course, with credits. Um, that gets you further. And that is what happened to me. And that's my personal experience, really. Um, I cannot put in numbers if it's 99% luck and 1% skill, but that's how I did it. And I'm just so happy to have so many working partners in Borneo, in Peninsular Malaysia, friends all around the world, just from taking pictures. It is, there's, without a shadow of a doubt, it is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of pain. There's a lot of blood that's gone into it, a lot of sweat, a lot of injuries. Um, you know a lot of infections, a lot of medical bills as well, but you know keep at it, get the shots that you want, and know that those shots will somehow contribute back to the world of science. And I guess it's just a constant reminder to everyone around the world that hey, we have this, but this is what we also have to lose in the future, kind of thing.
Hey, thank you for sharing that because, and as it goes on, there may be other questions about that because we have, like I said, we have a lot of people in here that look to do that. A lot of nature photographers in here, even right now. And then if we had somebody talking about wedding photography, there are always people that want to know how do you break into wedding photography and things like that. But you're here, and thank you for sharing that because I tell you, the silence is deafening, and that's not a bad thing because everybody's listening because you're talking about their passion, and they're just as passionate as you are, so they're taking notes, Sanjit. So thank you very much.
There will
Hey,
be a quiz at the end of this.
okay, that's even better, man. That's great. All
Coffee.
right, let me welcome a couple of other people come in here. Ravinder Kaur. I can't say
Yeah,
it. Help me out, Sanjit.
that's the wife.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Well, you should be in here with us right now, live. We did that with John Ishii. We had to get his wife in, and then we didn't want John anymore. We just wanted Diana. So, but
Well,
she's welcome too if she wants to come sit in with you, by all means.
I'm
Um,
sure hiding somewhere.
Jeff and Leslie, wildlife nature photography. So there you go. Jeffrey Neville, who's in here with us, loves shooting birds and things like that. D Moots photography, or David over there. David's a big wildlife shooter, primarily birds right now, but I know he's going to shoot everything else. And this is just to name a few. There are a lot of people in here. So you're an interesting subject tonight. So you are the rock star photographer. All right. And we're all ears, man. So, again, without further ado, you're ready to go through some of your photos and some of your trips out
Yeah.
there and your conservation trips or research trips. We're ready to learn, man.
And yeah, I'm just gonna add on before kind of like move on with the rest of the pictures. It was really tough. It was really tough. I never owned a camera until not too far back, and I was fortunate that 8 years in advertising, the boss there, he was so kind, and he says, here's a camera, take it out during weekends. It does not need to be sitting in the office collecting dust. You do not need to be sitting at home watching movies and eating chips. If you can find a way to go out there, utilize the camera, make money during the weekends if you can. And, he was ever so kind. So all the cameras that I had were loaned, borrowed. Um, and it was a real rough ride, and there's a lot of people that actually encourage me and say, hey, you like doing this, go ahead, do it. And sometimes you try to loan a camera from a friend, try to borrow a camera from a friend. They just say no because I'm using it this weekend, and you go like, dang, I got a trip, I've got this world's largest flower that's blooming in the forest, and I don't have a camera with me. um, it was never easy. It was never easy, and finally got my first camera, and I just went out blazing away. As
That's how
But of
you
course, I
learn.
worked it off. I worked it off. I did weddings. I'm a commercial photographer. I photograph for property developers doing architecture, interiors. Um, I photograph for company annual dinners. I've done sports. The 10 years I've done F1, MotoGPs, cycling.
Wow.
I've done travel, I've done nightlife, you name it. I've not really done astrophotography or underwater, but anything else, yeah, it's like I've pretty much done it all. But somehow going back to nature and wildlife, it's just my place of zen. It keeps me calm, it keeps me composed, it keeps me on the edge, always hunting for the next shot. It's just I found my heart there, and you know the heart wants what the heart wants sometimes, and this heart wants to give back.
There you go. That's fantastic. And it would appear that there are a lot of shots to collect yet that are out, that, haven't been done yet. And I think you were talking about that. That's part of your passion, documenting something that hadn't been seen or observed before. And that's always fun. That's what keeps the passion going. Is there's always something else to capture. I'm happy. Hey, Charles, I'll let him answer this. I don't know that he's settled on Nikon, but go ahead and.
Oh, um, act- um, wow. What convinced you? My first camera was a Nikon F60, so it was film 35 mm, and I used that in college where I studied media and graduated as a journalist. And John might be like, "What? Graduated as a journalist?" Yeah, graduated as a journalist, and when I got a job the very next day that I graduated, I was hungry, mate. I was 20 years old. I was hungry. We didn't have much growing up, and I was hungry. I just wanted to get out there. I just wanted to, you know, dress the way I want. So, but the only
you
way I
don't
could do that is to earn,
you don't
right?
look a lot over 20 now, I got to tell you.
It's the haircut helped. Nah, um, but oh no, I'm still 16 inside. I'm still a shy, quiet kid,
There you
really.
go. There's
And
nothing wrong with that. Let me know
during
when you want me to go back to sharing the screen. You just let me know and I'll put it back up there.
I will do. During the course of working in advertising, I managed to play or dabble a lot with medium format cameras, the Mamiyas, RB65s, the Kiev cameras that came from Russia. All of a sudden, we had Russian medium format cameras. I still have them in my closet. And then, working in advertising was the Fuji S2 Pro. I love that camera because the battery pack is AA batteries, and if you're going out for expedition 10 days, 20 days in the forest, perfect. AA batteries, you don't really have to worry about where's your next charging pot, or if it's the monsoon season, it's going to rain, you can't use no solar chargers. From there, into Olympus, then I was doing a little bit of filming, so it was the Canon 5D Mark II back then. uh, I used Canon quite a fair bit. My profile picture on my Facebook, you see me using a Phase One. Uh, the list goes on. It's just in life you get the opportunity to drive different cars,
Wow.
and it is just the same. It's to get you from one point to another point, and that's what a camera is to me. It's a device that captures light, and if you spend um, long enough, I think Jeffrey would say reading the manual,
Yeah.
you will get the hang of it. So for me, any camera is fine. I settled with Nikon because they eventually gave me a good deal.
That's great to hear.
they gave me a good deal for the D4S 14, 24, 24, 70, 7200. Uh, and I thought, that is just perfect for all my architecture work that I do. That's the commercial side. This 600 that you see in this picture that is on screen, yeah, this one is I got it secondhand off John.
Great.
Yeah.
John, you got any more deals?
Hey, that's how I got my 600. It was secondhand. Couldn't
Nothing
afford
wrong
a
with
brand new
that.
one.
Yeah, but it is 5.2 kilos, and ah gosh, 1 week in the forest, you go back into the village, and you just scream out, is there anyone want to be my porter? Here's some money.
Well, I know you got to shoot with the Z9. You talked about that first. The not prototype, but I guess you could call that the non-production model. And you talked about the opportunity maybe to get your hands on another one here for a trip or something like that. Have you used any of the new Z glass, the 400 2.8 TC lens by chance, or the 800 PF lens?
Not yet. So I'm hoping to get my hands on the 800 6.3.
Hey, Nikon Malaysia, listen to this man. You guys want to do something? Get this man kitted out. Give him some loaners to go out and promote Nikon.
They said all right. They did say okay. I was with them over the weekend. We had a session. I spoke about monkeys for once. I'm always talking about birds and wildlife in general, but I managed to talk a little bit about orangutans and the naughty macaques that we have around. And we managed to play. I mean, I managed to kind of like kidnap the Z9 with the 800 on it. It
Oh,
was
great.
I mean, everything was everywhere. The Z9 was mounted to another lens. The 7.2 was mounted to another lens. I just, took everything apart, put this combination together, and say, hey, Monday, please, let me know if this is available. I'll take a trip up north and get you guys some pictures. So
Yeah, I would hope that they
Nice.
would honor that. Yeah, it'd be good for Nikon to do that. Jeff and Leslie, wildlife photographers, are asking: do you shoot from blinds or do you stalk? I mean, how do you go about your when you're out doing this, whether it's research or whatever? How are you doing that?
I I do it both, and there's actually quite a funny picture of me photographing from blinds in the next couple of slides that's coming out. But a little bit about this one is, you can't really learn everything from books, um, because
Amen.
and I used to have a library of magazines. I used to contribute to magazines to make an extra buck or two, and everything that's written about photography is that you got to do your research. You got to go to this website to do your research. Um, but I just want to rejig that a little bit, and it is good to do your research to know your subjects, but you need to realize that when you are on set, you can plan to the finest detail, but when you're out there in the wild, everything will change on site almost immediately. um, and that's what the research in the books should prepare you for. But um, you know we read travel guides, go here you will see this, but they don't tell you, it's like, go here you might not see what we just told you you will see. you know
Right.
um, So yeah, I mean, if you prepare to be disappointed, you won't be disappointed, right? So, but you always need to do as much research as you can about your subject. And my easy way to do that research is how I cheat a little bit. You buy the experts a cup of coffee, a pint, a
Uh,
glass of wine, something like that. And, let's talk about it. It's easier that way than writing them an email and they go like, "Oh, I need to write my entire life story in this email for this kid to understand what bats do."
no, it's
So,
great.
and yeah, I mean that. Yeah, this I hope this helps you, because it's when you engage with those experts, because they work so closely with the subjects. They know better than what has been written in the past. So that's one about this picture is that um, I kind of knew that the gibbons were going to take a leap, and it's never really always at the same position. And the adult male, the adult female, and the young, they landed at different places, although the camera was already pre-focused at one spot. So I would have missed it all, but I was lucky to get this one. And I just love how gibbons just, just it looks like a guy in the sky if he had a parachute pack on him. He's so
Yeah.
floaty and
Yeah.
just going into the landing. Um, Another one live on assignment. This one was kind of funny. 40 over days, 45 days in the forest, and day one is on the left. Day 45. That's the final day. Uh, there's already a bird's nest that's growing on my chin. And it was kind of like a castaway moment, spending so much time there. You tend to start talking to trees, or you start talking to wildlife, and you say, oh, I just wish that you can perch there. And the typical case is the light is always great when there's no subject, and your subject appears when it's drizzling or raining. So it was kind of like a castaway Wilson moment for me when I befriended cactus.
So,
And
so who are you doing this with? Is your wife with you, or do you have other photographers or researchers with you?
this is actually a project with my wife, and we were documenting the breeding of the critically endangered helmeted hornbill, and we wanted to document the timeline when the chick actually fledges from the nest.
Hmm.
And this is no it I've put in some examples in the following slides as well. But I'm proud to say that I held on to that water bottle, refilled it every day for over 45 days, brought it back to the city, gave it a proper burial to the recycle
I
to the
thought maybe,
recycle.
yeah, I thought maybe that was your Wilson moment.
It
Draw a
is.
face on it. All right, great. Hey, Nikan asked a question. How do you deal with the humidity and all the rainfall and everything as far as cameras and gear goes?
Wow, actually, because we are pretty much in a remote village, we don't really have access to much. But I'm happy to have electricity and running fresh water. We have no way to deal with it. We just got to live with it. When I come back to the city, yes, everything gets cleaned. Actually, before taking any flight, everything gets cleaned and immediately into the dry cab. But while we're in the village, um, uh, I tend to leave the cameras and all the equipment out of the bag so that the humidity does not get trapped in your bag.
Right.
So the camera is always on the tripod, and my tripod is kind of like also the doorstop because yeah, with the wind, the doors just keep slamming everywhere. So the tripod with the camera on it is also the doorstop. So the cameras are just exposed to the elements. Of course, they are in the shade while we are in the village, but when we are out in the forest, that transit from the village to the forest, it all goes back into the camera bags. But just simply because not trapping your camera in a bag that would retain all this humidity and moisture. Um,
Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
people in the chat are talking about using silicon packs. The problem with that is in that environment, they're worthless after 12 hours.
Nah, I mean, if I could leave one open in my main dining area at home, 4 hours, it's out.
Right. So, but you mentioned the dry cabinet coming back. So I think that answers the question. That's your maintenance plan for your lenses and everything. You just keep them in the environment until you're finished and then put them in the dry cab. Yeah.
Yes, almost immediately because it is part of your limbs, man. You just got to take care of them.
So John Ishii was asking us that the other day. What do we do? Because of course he's got dry cabinets, but I think the difference is between Malaysia and here. For me, humidity is not a major issue. If you go to some states, there can be an issue with humidity, and we do have tropical like locations here in America. I don't know. Have you ever been to the U.S.?
Uh, yeah, Jacksonville, Florida, New
Okay.
York.
Okay. Great. So
Visited the
yeah,
Bronx too.
yeah. So I don't know if the silicon packs are any good in a super humid climate like that. It's like going to El Yunque in Puerto Rico. Forget about it. The silicone packs will become pillows after a few hours in that environment. They absorb, they fill up. But all right, well that answers that. All right, brother. The stage is yours. You continue.
Yeah, so this is a little bit summary of my life and assignment. You got to brace for rain, and we've got caught in rains and in storms quite a number of times. The only dangerous thing about being caught in rain or storms while you're in the forest is what comes from above, and you get a lot of twigs, branches that's just breaking off and falling onto you. So, but you never want to get to a clearing in case there's lightning. So you just got to be prepared for it. And I've ran out in the forest before with all my gear on me, um, tripped over, was it a root, and just sent me flying across. Almost, it could have turned very, very bad very, very quickly. So, um, in terms of camera gear, I mean, my fanciest rain cover is a heavy duty garbage bag.
And it works great, doesn't it?
It works great. I've had it for years. It's in the side pocket of my lens bag. It is the best rain cover you can get for your equipment. It's not at all expensive. It comes in a pack of 10 that would last you forever.
Uh, that and a couple of rubber bands around the lens hood, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's uh, definitely. It's always on me. I always need it. Um, yeah, here's one thing that's pretty strange. I'm not really a fan of the water, but throughout the entire career of photographing wildlife is being on the water. So for 5 years, we worked up north at one of the state parks way up north. That's a lake. For the past 9 years in Borneo, we've been working on the Kinabatangan River. That's a river that goes over 500 kilometers. But we are on the lower Kinabatangan where we have our research sites, and it can get super hot out there. Midday, you've got the sun that's high up, and everything just bounces off the river. So it is really hot. It's just super important just to keep rehydrating all the time. And this is one of Ravinder's shots that she taken of me, and I'm just going perfect position because I think there was some elephants or crocs down the river. I said perfect positions, but little did you know, working on boats have got its own little challenges as well. you know, Perfect position. 2 seconds later, the boat tilts, and another boat passes by, and you're going like tilting and wobbling, and it's like your camera is like, whoa. In which have caused me to hit myself so many times, going like, ow. So
Uh,
Um, the gimbal head is what I love about it because when the boat moves or when it tilts, you just loosen it and you just move along with it. So that is a really handy tool. I love it. Here's one of me hiding out in the hide. So to answer your question earlier on is, do I stalk wildlife? Yes, I do.
Looks like my garage.
And we use hides especially at sensitive nesting areas. So if there's a sensitive bird nesting, I'm always in hides. Here you can see the camera is just pointed up, so I'm trying to film some action of the bird coming back to the nest. um, Not sure why my microphone is not pointing up, but being in there is can get really really hot. But working in the heights, uh, it's a blessing, it's a charm, because after a few hours, a lot of wildlife do not notice that you're there, and they tend to come closer. And that's the reason why there's this removable string just up there, um, and we have to put our hides up and bring them down every day, because when the elephants come, they just walk right through it and send your hide to another location. So, um, and also, if you're in a hide when the elephants come, um, you just never know when they creep up on you. I mean, they're like the largest mammals on earth, and they don't make a sound when they're just creeping up on you. So it's kind of creepy. Uh, Falling asleep in the forest, yeah, you got to cocoon yourself, kind of like a caterpillar, because mosquitoes will attack you from every corner. But it's always handy, just to bring a hammock, because after a while it can get pretty uncomfortable. You might want to stretch out your back a little bit, or you just want to make a little chair for yourself. So hammocks are the way to go. And we're not carrying those foldable chairs or those fancy blinds that are over 4 kilos. Everything that we can roll and just hook it on with a carabiner on our backpack or shove in our backpack. That's how we do it. And of course, we always also shove a lot of water and some food. And yeah, working at night. Most of the times we work from really early in the morning, perhaps about from 3 o'clock in the morning to midday, and then continue in the evening. But working at night is kind of cool, because you tend to see a lot of nocturnal wildlife. And what's sad about this, it's so difficult to photograph them without proper equipment. And I remember I was taking this with my D4S, with most probably my 7200 with an extender on it. And it was one of those safari trips. We were at the back of a truck, and of course your guys have got this nice fancy flashlights that is hooked up to the truck's battery, so it gives you enough light. And you know crank up your ISO and you get shots like this. And um, I've never really gotten a better shot of a civet. What I dislike about this, but it also shows um, one of their traits, is that cable that it's walking across is actually a power line, and it's not a vine. And but unfortunately, most of the nocturnal wildlife are also becoming roadkill, and it's really sad to see all this. Whenever we go out of town into rural areas, a lot of the wildlife, I've never seen a bear cat apart from the zoo. And just a couple of months ago, it's just in a pool of blood by the side of the highway, and those bear cats are bigger than we can imagine. So it's kind of sad to see all these happening. And at the end, yes, I do have to endure a lot of physical harm. My arm just, I don't know, I was transforming into a croc or a villain in the Spider-Man show. uh, I brushed against something. I never knew until I came back and I went to my doctor's, and he says, "Oh yeah, by the way, you have sensitive skin. Try to stay indoors."
Uh,
And silly me, I was working in one of the resorts, so I thought, I'll just walk around in my sandals. And I went into the bush, and I had tick bites all over my toes, and it was just horrible, man. It just itches, and it can give you Lyme disease if you're not careful. So every time we get hurt in the forest, there's a leech on you. We treat it as a wound. And I lost count of the numbers of leeches that I've got, numbers of mosquitoes, number of ticks. And we tend to turn it into a game. Hey, mosquito, let's kill it. It's like, ah, yeah, that's a 5 point mosquito. Mosquitoes raising, 20 points. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, being in the forest for long periods of time brings out the best in you. But I got to a little shout out to all the worthy heroes out there. I mean, I know all the park rangers, those that patrol our borders. It's not easy what they do. And we are very thankful that they came to get us out of a rather peculiar situation when we were faced with poachers with weapons. So about 60 of them showed up, um, live ammunition and ready to go, just to extract a research team that included my wife and myself and the rest of the entire team that were in there, just to extract us out from a dangerous situation. um, yeah, so
So
uh,
how do you get in touch with them? Do you carry a sat phone or something for emergencies?
fortunately, where we were at that time is pretty much about 2 kilometers away from the base camp, so we did have a little bit of reception on our mobile phones,
Okay.
and we managed to ping the directors of what we just encountered, and uh, the directors of the NGOs, being very, very well connected, and saying that, hey, we have a team in there. They could be in trouble. Could you help us out? And they said, yeah, we are in training at the moment. We dropped everything. They picked up their weapons. Didn't didn't even pick up their mobile phones just to tell the family that they have to ship out immediately. They just ran for their weapons, got into a bus, and came straight in.
Well,
And
that's great. That has to provide you with some comfort knowing that they'll do that.
yeah, but not only in Borneo but also in the peninsula of Malaysia. We have a lot of armed guards that's secretly walking around the forest, keeping uh, the researchers, the tourists, safe from any harm that this is might come from outside. You never know when a poacher is going to come and just waltz into from another country. Although they might want to go for elephant parts or tiger parts, yeah, you could get caught in the crossfire. And these guys are always somewhere out there looking out for you. And by them being there, they're also looking out for the wildlife that we have.
Well, that was
So
my next question. What were they there poaching?
oh, poachers! I mean, they come. They, oh my goodness, they go for almost everything. They put snares all around the forest. They have weapons. They go for the Malayan tigers. They go for the sun bears. They go for the deers. They go for the elephants. For the basically ivory. They go for the helmeted hornbill for the ivory like casque. Um, I think was it in 2017. We lost our last Sumatran rhino. So no more rhinoceroses in Malaysia. Um, yeah, they come for animal parts, and a lot of those parts have been reported to be used for either medical or traditional
Right,
medicinal stuff, or a pair of expensive earrings for someone.
right.
Hmm.
Hey,
Uh,
let me see. Jeffrey, jump in here, and David, you're up. You got any questions or comments for Mr. Sanjit?
I've got one. Earlier you mentioned that shot where you had the lens pointed up, and you said something about your microphone. Do you carry special sound equipment and document the sounds as well, not just photos?
Yes, actually, I do not carry any additional audio equipment. I just have this super long boom mic, a shotgun boom mic that I mounted to my camera. So as I'm filming, I'll record it. But if I do hear any sounds, I'll just push the focus to out of focus, and I'll be recording that sounds because honestly, my I've run out of pockets already. Going through the
Yeah.
forest with 600 with water bottles, some food, additional cameras, lenses, and batteries. So everything that I record, audio wise, goes through the DSLR or
Hmm.
my mirrorless systems.
That was going to be my
So
next question. Okay.
yeah. So these are some really cool moments that I managed to get
Nice.
in both in Peninsula Malaysia and Borneo. So we have a Wallace's hawk eagle. At first, I thought it got trapped in a snare, but no one really puts a snare up on a tree. And this is a palm tree. And what's it doing is that it's hanging on to a vine with one talon, It's hanging on to a prey that is wrapped in leaf, so it's individually packed sandwich for it to go, and it's inverted, and it's using its wings to actually position itself so that it can see what's in those leaves and in the ferns.
Wow.
Uh, so I've never seen a bird of prey hunt this way. Yes, we've seen them inverted while they're flying, and there's two birds that's interlocked with their
Hmm.
talons together. But for it to stay there for almost half a minute, and it was just wiggling its wings, and it was just looking around, and it just eventually let go, went down, and flew away. So I've never seen
Wow.
raptors. I was just fortunate enough to get this one picture. Uh, there's a few
Yeah,
more, but at that
that's
time,
like that's like
That
parrot behavior.
like parrot behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
Secretly, he was a bat in his previous life.
Or bat. Yeah.
that's those moments you were talking about that document something that hasn't been documented or whatever.
Yeah. You never know when it's going to happen, and elusive primates. Sometimes, when you're in the forest long enough, and the primates just come out. And there's been a couple of occasions when we are monitoring a nesting hornbill, and you feel that you're being watched, and that sound and that song just rings in your head. You got a feeling somebody's watching me. But and then you tend to look around, and you look up, and this whole family of gibbons are just looking at you, and the moment that you lock eyes, they vanish. They just, a swing away, and they are gone. And this is one of the elusive primates on the lower parts of the Kinabatangan River. It's the Sabah gray langor. And the rangers, which are good friends of ours, they've been working in the area for so long, and in 20 years they've seen it twice. And for us to be in that forest, just at that same position day after day, weeks after weeks, months after months, um, we are usually on site before sunrise. And these primates just came out, they just started feeding, they noticed that we were there, and they went back into hiding. 2 years after that, they emerge again at the same spot, but this time with young. So it's
Oh,
kind of cool to see that, in 2017, I spotted three of them. In 2019, I spotted about seven, 6 or 7 of them, and two with young. So it's really cool to see that their population in this small patch of forest, this is a 4 kilometer squared forest, that the population can bounce back.
man, that's great. What kind of
Uh,
how do you deal with the mosquitoes is what Gustavo's asking because the
oh,
typical repellent melts plastic. So
sorry, the typical melts plastic. Oh,
the
oh,
typical mosquito repellent that we use,
okay.
off and whatever will melt the plastic on the camera or whatever.
Oh, wow. That's you. If it's going to melt plastic, you don't want to put it on you. Uh,
Exactly.
Hold on.
That's
I have
true.
it. I have it right here. Yeah, we use pretty much Mozzie Guard. Not too sure. Yeah, so it's Mozzie Guard. It's
Hang on a second.
pretty. Here we go. Is it in reverse? Uh,
I don't know. I've never seen it, but
So it's a natural insect repellent. It's a spray on. It's plant based. It's DEET free. It's scientifically proven. It's what I'm reading on the package is scientifically proven, and dermatologically tested. Pretty natural. Just reapply as much as you can. Whenever, especially if you sweat a lot in the forest, then you just reapply whenever you can. It works against leeches as well for me. Yes, it has lemongrass, and it also has, oh my goodness, eucalyptus. Yeah,
hmm.
eucalyptus and lemongrass. So it doesn't smell that bad, but it smells like the forest to me. Yeah. So we've had friends that come down from Chester and from Phoenix, and DEET is what melts plastic. Yeah, finishes on guitar, and yeah, it was kind of like uh, a conversation that we were having. It's like, how many percent of DEET does your repellent have? And if it does have DEET, why are you putting it on yourself? Right. So, yeah, it was a fun conversation, and then everyone went to bed to wake up early for next day's shoot. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, yeah. So, off to my next slide before I tell you some
Hang on a
random fact.
second. We're back. Here we go.
Yeah. Everything in the forest here, and or almost in any forest. I mean, even if you go to Arctic, Antarctica, everything is well camouflaged. So, you just got to look out for them because you don't want to be accidentally stepping on a cobra or a scorpion or something like that. So, every step counts when you're in the Malaysian forest. And those of you who are into macro photography, we have a lot of fashionable creepy crawlies out here. So, this one here is a lantern bug, and they usually hang out in pairs. But most of the time, the other guy is like further up the trunk of the tree or something like that. And they're so colorful. They're really cool, prehistoric looking like bugs. So, if you're into macro photography, there's a lot of these guys. I mean, there's a lot of macro opportunities out there. You just need to know when to look. But almost everywhere, you will be guaranteed a subject under a leaf or under a bark or something like that. Um, Malaysia, I mean, we are so blessed. We are one of the two countries in the world to have two types of elephants. So in Borneo, we've got the Bornean elephant. And since because it's Borneo is shared with the Kalimantan side of Indonesia, I mean, these elephants roam around. And in the peninsula Malaysia, we've got the Asian elephants, which are slightly larger. Um, and we share that with Thailand as well. So Malaysia, one of the only two countries in the world, you'll see two types of elephants. How lucky are we, man?
Yeah. To have elephants, period.
We have about, well, we've got 25 species of primates, and one of them has got a toxic bite. Can you guess which one?
Uh,
It's actually this cute guy over here. It's got a toxic bite.
wow.
Uh, it's got a gland at its elbow, and it will lick this gland and then come and lick you. Uh, and then, I'm not sure what type of toxic it is, but it's not good for humans. And unfortunately, this is a slow loris that a lot of people hunt for the pet trade. And a lot of kids think that they are really cute and it's something that they love to have. But little do the parents know that they are giving the kids something venomous.
Wow.
So
That's
uh,
bad.
they
Yeah,
also
because
not.
it looks like something you'd want to pet.
Yeah, it's really cute, eh? These are also nocturnal, but I managed to get this shot during the day. Uh, we were on it's kind of like a hill's edge, and you go out with a group of friends, and sometimes we're a little bit happy and noisy, and this guy was sleeping by the side of the road. It was actually spotted by one of the guides in Langkawi Island, and she was excited to see it, and then we started getting closer and closer, and we started talking and chatting. It actually had its head down, and since we were starting a party on the street, it woke up, it looked at us like, meow, yeah, all right, it's harmless. I've got a toxic bite.
Uh,
We also have the world's largest flowers, but this is one of the smaller of the largest flowers. It's about 2 feet in diameter. The largest one is about one, or it's over a meter. It's close to 1.2 meters uh,
wow.
in diameter. We have a lot of pristine rivers. It's amazing that the countries, the peninsula of Malaysia is pretty small compared to US. You have three time zones, right?
Right.
Sometimes two. Yeah, we have none of that. And so we're pretty small. You can drive to anywhere you want to within the peninsula within the day. So
Wow.
so and but there are so many places that are still yet to be discovered, and there's so many pristine rivers out there. And of course, these rivers, they lead all the way. to the vast oceans that has so many islands. Anyone want to come visit Malaysia for wildlife photography, you got to take the opportunity just to go to some of the most beautiful islands out there. Crystal clear, pristine river, vast ocean. Most Some of those places are duty free as well, so you can grab a beer that's pretty cheaper than in the city, uh, and just have a whale of a time, just relaxing after your wildlife adventure. Uh, Tremendous amount of mangrove, because since we are a peninsula, we're surrounded by oceans on both sides, and by seas on both sides. So we have mangroves all throughout the country. These are really great place to photograph because the flora and the fauna in the mangrove ecosystem is so gorgeous. Uh yeah, I'm just a passenger on this beautiful strange vessel. I'm humbled by being human. Yeah, I went to grab a cup of coffee and put all these together because I do want to tell you a few stories, and working on those stories, it's just like, yeah, I think I'll just put this shot in. This is very dangerous because I'm walking too close to a swamp, uh, with rubber shoes on. And these shoes are, to me, they are the best hiking shoes ever. Uh, they have no insoles, they have no cushion, they have no ankle support. Uh, it's just rubber wrapped around your feet. Uh, I don't know, they cost so cheap. Uh, you can buy expensive shoes that say it's quick dry, but it takes at least 2 or 3 days to dry if it's raining all the time. This one, pure rubber, just wipe it down with a towel, it's dry. But it's also not the safest shoe, right? So you really need to be careful while you're working in the forest. I do have a little bit of background in sports, you know, uh, field sports and extreme sports, so that helps me with my balance. But uh, I'm just getting a little bit more clumsier these days. I have to admit that, so I have to be more careful. But those kind of shoes in this kind of swampy area, you will get a lot of leeches. So, uh, but never be afraid to get your feet wet. This is one story. I mean, Malaysia. Anyone thinks about Malaysia, I guess they would think about orangutan. Is one of the most iconic species around the world, and we don't have them on the peninsula, but we have them naturally in Borneo, and on the Indonesian side, on Sumatra, Kalimantan. And this is one time we went to one of the caves. It's called Gomantong Caves, where they harvest the swiftlet nest. It's amazing to see. It's a huge cave with a huge cabin inside, and you see all the way up. There's ropes for everyone to go up and just harvest swiftlet nest. Not everyone, but the professionals to do it. And we were at the front of the cave, and we noticed this female orangutan kind of like shooting the breeze, sitting on the stairs, looking around. And you go like, oh yeah, wait a minute. They don't do that. They don't do that. They're supposed to be up on the trees, not sitting by the stairs waiting for guests for a tea party to arrive. And you look at her position. She's so cool. She's got her arm up there. Here, her legs are crossed, and it's just like, yeah, this is the life. And in places like this, it's kind of the houses are kind of long, so they call it the long houses, and all the houses are on stilts. So just in case of floods, your house doesn't get flooded. And she was sitting there by the stairs, and at the other end of the so-called longhouse, there was this her young that was just playing underneath it, and he was playing with coconut husks. Um, so now here's another unusual sight. You see orangutans above you, never below you. And usually, when you see orangutans on the ground, if we are doing field work in the forest, it's not a good time because they can overpower you at any time, and you do not want to get close to one, right? Even a young one. You do not want to get close to one because they are so strong. they can be unpredictable. So your best bet is to get out of the way. Most of the time, when they do come on the ground, or when they call it squeezing noises, is making this high pitched squeak you by squeezing their lips together. When they're making squeezing noises, all they want you to do is just move out of the way. Occasionally, if you don't, they start breaking branches and throwing at you because you're just in their path, right? So it was kind of unnatural to see a large female and a young um, on eye level.
So were they just used to humans being around them, or
They are not. And there were two workers from the cave. They were walking. I was photographing next to a director of an NGO, and he's a really tall French guy. And we were swapping lenses in between. And so I had my D4S D7200. So I had my 600, then I had my 7200. So he had a Nikon as well. So we were swapping in between and taking all kinds of shots. And two guys that work around the area, they rolled this jackfruit towards the orangutan. They walked past us and they said, uh, in their own language, which translates that these orangutans are blind. And and it's like my natural instinct is to photograph every moment, and that's when your senses tend to get heightened. And as a photographer, when you got the inside scoop, you actually want to portray that in an image that everyone can relate to. So, but the orangutans, they didn't want to turn around, and the female walked towards the jackfruit. She took very cautious steps. She grabbed the fruit, she sniffed it, she turned around, and she called for the young. And so this is them, kind of like enjoying that jackfruit on the ground. But if you notice, I still cannot prove, and this is where the signs come in. We still cannot prove uh, visually that the female orangutan is blind. But her instinct to share with her young is so strong. That bond, that motherly instinct, is so strong. But as soon as they finished the meal, and she was walking back to the hut, I guess we were making some noises, or the D4S shutter can be pretty loud in a place like this. And she just turns and looks at me and gives me this amazing portrait of the cataracts that she's got in her eyes.
oh,
So it's currently one on the left eye. But along the shots that I took, sometimes to commemorate these kind of moments, I tend to turn a lot of them into my personal artworks. And this one has got kind of like a message. Although this female orangutan is blind, but she's not blind to her surrounding and not blind to her young, because those instincts will always be embedded within anyone or any wildlife.
that's something that Gujaran Rupra is doing a lot now. Excuse me, wildlife art and photographing at night and a lot of different things. I love that though.
And yeah, so to me, right? So yeah, it's so much of words. It's supposed to be a show of pictures, but yeah, conservation is about restoring the ecosystems, and through collaborations, everything that we do, we want to be positive. And here's another one that I was recently working on, is yeah, it's all got to do with human elements, because while we were flying back either from Sabah or Sarawak recently, I read on social media that the long-tailed macaque is now an endangered species. So, you know, immediately we flew in on Friday, Saturday morning, Sunday. I went out again. Took another an hour drive, an hour and a half, and went hunting for long-tailed macaques, and to try to visually show why they are now endangered, right? So, which while working on those pictures, it got me thinking that before the pandemic, uh, you know, uh, we didn't have much plastic lying around, and I think most major cities, I mean, I don't quite remember, in Malaysia, especially Kuala Lumpur, they have had a ban on plastic straws, and now there's plastic everywhere. um, you know, you go to get your haircut, your barber or in the saloon, they wrap you up in plastic. They used to have proper aprons for it. But so, it got me thinking, what happened to no plastic straws? And if we look closely, this young macaque is already injured. His finger there is bleeding and it looks like it took a chunk out of him. Um, uh, More vehicles, more injuries, a macaque with a broken back, but still able to recover and walk on all fours once again. And at first, I thought that there was a very, very old macaque, but no, it's not. It's sub-adult, so it's kind of like a teenager, but it's got a broken back. So I would suspect that it most probably got hit by a car or a motorcycle. Um, I guess maybe we are getting a little bit more lazy, and we're no more segregating our trash, and this trash is going to the macaques. This adult male, I mean, that little black spot that it's got under his over his lip and under his tongue, it's not supposed to be there, and it's coming from the paint can. um,
Mm.
and if you look closely on the warning signs on those paint cans, man, we wouldn't, we get something like this on ourselves, we quickly want to take it off. But these wildlife species, they're hyper curious. Uh, so they go for anything because they're very curious. So currently, these macaques are listed under the IUCN as endangered. Uh, I want to expand on this series to show more examples of why they're becoming endangered. But when they do go extinct, where do we put our heads when they're gone? Um, we do know macaques are important to the environment. We do know every living organism plays a role, no matter how big or how small. But you know it does contribute back to the environment. So part of my talk that I did with Nikon the other day is this same macaque story. But just to add on that, we are contributing somehow, one way or another, to them being endangered. So if we could just, start from home, every little thing that you do can go a long way somehow. And yeah, hornbills. Hornbills is what we've been documenting for quite some time. It's also my wife's project, and she is the Malaysian expert, working both in Peninsular Malaysia and in Borneo. And this is actually how conservation includes not only wildlife but local communities and a lot of international collaborations. And so this, I mean, I'm not going to show you all the hornbills. I might have them uh, in the slide, but this is an oriental pied hornbill. Just to give you a little bit of background, this guy is kind of like the most common hornbill species that you have around. They're kind of like the most resilient hornbills. They are smaller bodied hornbills, and sometimes we tend to call them the crow of the hornbills because they are so resilient that uh, they're so resilient that they are very well adaptable to any environment. So they've been on an island. They've been trying to nest in trash cans that visitors or guests on that island will call out the management and say, "There's a bird trapped in your trash can. I tried to throw trash, it almost bit my fingers off." Um, they've nested in pots that are laid on the ground. These earthenware pots that are laid on the ground. They've nested there. So because they are very well adaptable, they are considered as least concern on the international status, right? Um, Hornbills, working with them for so long, they are forest gardeners, and this is the great hornbill that you also get in Thailand and India. Um, and the great hornbill, the best place to see to my experience, the best place to see great hornbills in Malaysia is the island Langkawi. Uh, you rent a car for 60 ringgit. That's about maybe $15 a day. Gas it up, and you get to roam the entire island. There's this hill called Gunung Raya. Um, it's basically park your car, look for a fruiting tree, and when you're lucky, you get two or three species of hornbills, giant squirrels, all the wildlife are there. This one is looking through the valley, and there's this great hornbill that's come to hunt for these fig fruits. I don't recall the name of the fig fruits, but these hornbills, they play a very important role as forest gardeners because they are wide-ranging birds. This picture is has got a rather funny story as well. I was kind of focused on a hornbill's nest and uh, the helmeted hornbill's nest, and this rhinoceros hornbill just kept flying. It was towards our left, and I had all my gear rigged up, focused on the helmeted hornbill's nest, and my wife, she's there. She's taking scientific data, noting down on research, and she says, "There's a rhinoceros hornbill. This keeps flying up and down." I go like, "I need to cross over that route, go over that boulder. I need to dodge this vine." It's like, oh gosh, I just don't want to do that right now. But she convinced me, and I did. And I'm so happy to get the shot because I think it's a great shot. And this shot is going in for an exhibition this year.
Wow.
And it's a female rhinoceros hornbill. As soon as she left, we suspected that they could be nesting there, but we're using drones now to look for hornbills nest in the forest. We flew a drone. It was not preferred hollow for the hornbill to nest in. So it's like, yeah, I was just most probably digging for grub, taking it back to his nest or elsewhere. And because they are wide ranging, they spread seeds all around the forest. And a healthy forest to the hornbill needs to have large growth trees because they nest in hollows, in natural cavities. Um, they are unable to create their own natural cavity, so they depend on either a branch breaking off and then fungal rot takes place, and then this cavity forms. So if you can imagine, the bird that size is going to need a cavity that is bigger than its size for it to nest in. So when a female goes in, she will mud up the entrance to make it very narrow and just enough to receive food from the male. And depending on the hornbill, lesson here, listen to your wife. Yeah,
Uh,
well, she taught me that. But yeah, listen to your wife and go photograph more hornbills on this side. So yeah, the females in there, and depending on the species of the hornbill, some nest up to 4 months, and some have to nest up to 6 months. So when there's a hornbill nesting, I apologize. I might not be able to tune in, Chuck, for a while because I'll be deep, deep in the forest somewhere. And yeah, so hornbills are that important species because they're spreading seeds everywhere in that forest, and um, seeds no matter how small or how large. And for me, this is why I like working with researchers because they have their team on the ground, um, almost 24/7 looking for trees that are fruiting. If you're working with hornbills, that's what we're doing. We're looking for trees that are fruiting, trees that are attracting these hornbills to come and feed, and we're documenting those kind of fruits that hornbills feed on. But to get a fruit in their beak up close, it's not easy at all. So for this particular shots, I've spent a minimum of walking about 180 kilometers and spending more than 27,000 minutes in the forest. And we're doing that for over 40 days going in and out. And this is what we recorded. This is what I recorded from all my notes. And to get that shot of a critically endangered bird with fruit in his beak up close is not easy because it's a very skittish species. Um, Humans to these birds are a big threat, right? And this is what the threat is for.
Oh,
You know, elephant ivory now it's the red ivory uh, thread because of the it's pretty much solid up there, but it's only a few centimeters thick. Apart from that, it's all hollow. So they they are shot, they are decapitated, they are put into someone's suitcase, they are shipped across Asia, they are carved. So you get a lot of ornamental carvings up there. If I zoom in, most probably this is a village or depicting a story or something. But the carvings are so intricate. They're made into earrings, into shabu bottles, and they're put on websites. Some even go between 4,000 to 40,000 USD once they're carved. Uh, so yeah, it's kind of sad story for that species, and that's why they are critically endangered. What focal length is your most successful? Okay, my go-to lens is always a 600 f4. Yeah, I never paid interest to trees, but now somehow wherever I go, I'm looking for fig trees because I know wildlife is going to come to those fig trees, and I can photograph a lot of wildlife there. A single hornbill. I mean, this has been jotted down in literature. A single hornbill can spread up to 200,000 seeds a year, and that is pretty cool because I don't have a green thumb. I can't plant vegetables; they die. And but hornbills are helping us regenerate the forest in a much more effective way.
hey, Sanjit, I just want to thank your wife for all these slides that she's put together for you.
Yeah, and
Ravinder, you need to get in here with us sometime. I mean, if you're the researcher on this, I think it would be fantastic. It's great talking to somebody that's passionate, your husband, and the photographer that he is. But man, the amount of time that you guys have spent on this project, I think would be fascinating to hear even more about the hornbills. All right, I just had to throw that in there. I'm trying to help you out, Sanjit.
all right. As I was not sure if anyone is still tuned in, but yeah, I'm going to try to just sum it up actually. And working together with local communities, we've got another program where from under the hornbill's nest we pick up the fruits and we start planting them, knowing that it's hornbill preferred food plants, and we replant them in degraded parts of the forest. We also do home improvement for hornbills if the cavity is not suitable. We make them hornbill suitable. It's a global effort, really. So here we've got a representative from Beauval Zoo in France, Phoenix Zoo from Arizona, Chester Zoo from UK. Of course, we work with all the wildlife departments and other NGOs. And we've created artificial nests for hornbills to nest in. And it takes an entire village to kind of like put it up. And it's heavy, it's 80 over kilometers. It's a high risk job because you got to put it up over 20 meters in the canopy, and as well as put a camera trap on there as well. But the most successful ones attracted wild rhinoceros hornbills to nest in, and five chicks have fledged ever since. These boxes were up in 2013, and it was recorded as the world's first to get a seal of approval. um, Funny use of time. I have a wonderful career. It's a legacy I'm ultimately proud of. It's to me, it's not about the likes and the amount of comments or amount of hits that I get on social media. But it's just um, the stories that I could tell and how these pictures are being used to educate younger generations and anyone who's interested at all. Pictures that I've photographed of flying foxes have been made into posters distributed to schools, universities, varsities all around Malaysia and hopefully all around the world as well. Photographs that I've taken of hornbills have been turned into coloring books as productive activities for the kids and one even for adults. Um pictures that we work together with our NGO collaborators, other NGOs from the world. When they seek your consent to use your pictures, just allow them that consent, because recently, towards the tail end of the all these lockdowns that we're having here in Malaysia, if I'm not mistaken, together with the World Land Trust in UK, we managed to raise uh, £420,000
Great.
to save the orangutan corridors in Borneo, and that's that is great. That's within 6 weeks. So no matter what, your images can play a pivotal role giving back to communities and sciences. Through the artworks, I did a couple of silent auctions, and these are for musicians who were in need of medical aid. They Most of them are baskers, and they need to perform to get to earn a daily living, to put bread on the table. And they could not perform. Some of them fell ill. One of a good mate of mine, he had 4 strokes. So I whipped out this artwork. It was already framed. I put it in lounge. Um, Everyone started bidding for it. People started giving donations, and we collected 10,000 ringgit just to help out two musicians that needed medical support. So 5,000 ringgit each. Um, yeah, you never know where your pictures can go, and if it can serve a purpose to a community, to a society, to help them out, I think by all means, go out there
That's
and do it and take those pictures as well. So yeah, just Chuck, trust me, I promise you, this is the last picture.
no, no, no. I was just going to say, I think it's a beautiful photo. I love that. I love the previous photo. And again, I go back to Gutran Rupra, who's in Kenya, and he's doing a lot of this wildlife art. It's just, it's fantastic.
And yeah, so that's what I do. And I always have this wanderlust. I always just want to go out there. I want to create more. But um, I'm glad now, and I'm more focused now, that while working with conservation, it gave me a direction of what to photograph and when to photograph, and not just photograph everything, leave them in your hard drive, and your hard drive stays sedentary for so long. uh, I'm glad to have so many great working partners. um, my wife, who is just incredible in what she does, and she's soon to become a world leader in hornbill conservation. um, John, who's always encouraging during coffee sessions, and always say, hey, publish your book, or start on it, or write about it. Any good photographer needs to know how to write, and it's something that I'm trying to practice. But it's
Wait a
like
minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. You went to
yeah,
school to be a journalist, right?
yeah, I did, but I never practiced it. I did it for 2 years, and straight on. uh,
Put that
flo-
education to use, sir.
yeah, it just needs to be practiced. But yeah, I try to write, and everything you see on my social media is actually just like tiny captions. So it comes from within, really. It just comes from within.
Well, I see your passion for conservation. I think that's fantastic. That's wonderful that you're passionate about the conservation. So, I have a question. You're talking about the hornbills. What's the population in Malaysia now for hornbills?
It is very difficult to say, or to estimate the population, because these are very wide ranging birds,
Right,
and to get proper statistics done will take a lot of time, because we need to grid the forest, plot them out, and have proper statistics method to do that. But however, instead of trying to figure out how many individuals of the critically endangered hornbill that is left, we are focusing our efforts in saving those critically endangered hornbills that we have.
right. So, where do we find hornbills? Where else in the world?
Oh, wow. Hornbills are pretty much. around the equator line. So
Oh, okay.
parts of Asia, you find them in India, and then you have the world's largest and smallest hornbills in Africa. So you get the African ground hornbills, and then you get the smaller ones. I don't recall its name, but it's also the one that's in the Lion King. That
Oh,
bird in the
okay.
it's a hornbill, so it's a small hornbill. So yeah, along the lines of the equator, if you're around India, you'll find them. Thailand, Malaysia, China, Indonesia, and also certain regions of Africa.
Okay. So they're relatively a warm weather bird. I mean, you don't find them in cooler climates. So around the equator. Okay. All right. Let me take a minute. Anybody that watches my stream knows after all the coffee, I've got to run to the little boys' room. I know people hate to hear that, but anyway, I'm going to do that. Anybody else needs to take a break, refill your cup. You're not going anywhere yet, Mr. Sanjit. We're keeping you here. We're going to talk some more. I want to get everybody else in the chat involved. They've been asking a few questions, but I'm sure there are a lot of questions out there they'd like to ask. And Sanjit, if you would, can you pull up some of your wildlife art that you have, photos?
Hmm. Sure. I think some of them on the Instagram.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just hit your Instagram page and we can go right down the list. Show us what you've been doing. But for the next few minutes, let's all take a break. Sorry about that. I'm an old man. What can I say? And we'll be right back. But you guys continue to chat if you like. If I will be right back. Jeffrey, steer the ship.
Yes, please, Jeffrey. Did I miss out on any questions? If I missed out on any questions, I'm just happy to share.
We can't hear you, Jeffrey. Here's a question for you. Do you have photos? This is from Gustavo. Do you have photos to show us about the females in the nest behind the wall of mud?
Oh, unfortunately, we do not have that really. We've not placed cameras in the cavities yet. Um, uh, we've done some sort of experiments, and whenever we place camera traps facing the cavity, we find that the hornbills become very distracted with those camera traps, and instead of going into the cavity to nest, they're just so taken by these camera traps that after a while we decided to take those camera traps down. Um, so that is from the outside. From the inside, we recently had a filmmaker from BBC that shoved in one of those tiny periscopes or endoscope cameras,
Mm-hmm.
uh, gone from the back of the nest to where the female was, and she attacked it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you, Gustavo. Yeah, but she attacked it. She attacked it. It's like any foreign objects, any small, anything that's reflective that is within the canopy, within the cavity, she extracts.
I'll be darned. That's a great question, Gustavo. Jeffrey's still muted or something. Still can't hear you, Jeffrey.
Uh, yep, you're no audio, Jeffrey. So, how do you deal with? Do you have the issues, camera gear issues? Is that just the typical issues, or considering where you're shooting, anything like that?
Well, it has happened in one occasion. I was shooting with the Olympus E3, and went up, climbed, we scaled up a tree. There was a tree platform with a ladder on it. So went all the way up. There's orangutan sleeping. You kind of tend to know its behavior. When it's sleeping, it wakes up. It's going to look around because instinct is to feed. So they will look around. Where's the food at? And then so I wanted to capture that moment of the orangutan waking up, and there were some birds flying around, orangutan sleeping. I'm not going to go and poke into its nest. So I was just photographing the bird, and you hear your camera sounding very differently. It's like it sounds pretty rough, as though the shutters are scratching against the sensors. And you look at the back of the camera, you see this black bar on different positions of your frame, and then it doesn't click anymore. So the shutter broke. Uh, didn't have a spare camera. I was deep in the forest, 2 hours away from any city, and another 2 hour flight from the major city. So when I called up Olympus and they said, we can get you a camera, but it's going to take you a week. And the orangutan did wake up, looked directly at us, uh, and went by its own business. So I had an experience of shutters breaking, um, um, lenses. Not really. I None of my Nikon lenses has ever malfunctioned on me. Knock on wood, and I hope they stay that way. Um, hot card issues, yes. Sometimes with the mirrorless system, I do get hot card issues, um, but I I realize if I turn off the display, that issue does not pop up.
Yeah.
I just turned it off, so like, not show me if it's hot or not. But I'm only concerned that if I do burn the card in some way, right? Would I lose my entire day's work?
Right.
So when it's hot, whenever there's this flash, whenever it comes out, the warning sign, hot card, I get worried. I was like, oh goodness. It's like,
Yep.
I
yeah.
bet.
So a lot of times I'm shooting with thanks. I got a refill of coffee from the wife.
Ravinder, come in here.
uh, yeah, she's attending to something downstairs.
That's very nice. My
Yeah.
wife just came downstairs, but she didn't bring me coffee.
And no, it's. I'm just trying to put my phone on silent. Sorry, I forgot at the very beginning. But I'm concerned with this hotcut issue. I don't want to lose my work. I don't want to miss the moments. So I leave the card bay open sometimes just to cool it down.
Hmm.
Yeah. So whenever I'm walking or I'm not shooting, I turn the camera off, leave the card bay open, and then just let it cool down and continue on with my work. Having said that, I just kind of like decided to get additional body, because anything can happen at any time, so it's always good to have a spare mirrorless
Yeah.
body. And yeah, so yeah, so far so good. No major issues with the camera. Tripod's getting loose, yes, but that one's just Allen key tighten. Running out of space while working in the forest, because sometimes it's a one-way ticket. If the hornbill is nesting, we purchase a one-way ticket, but we're definitely back within the next 2.5 months. So a lot of them I carry 2 terabyte uh, hard drives, and a ton of these. It's like a lot of hard drives, and you never know
I
when
was
you're going to run out of
I,
space.
I was just going to ask you, do you back up daily, or how do you do that? I assume you're not always in the woods or in the forest. Do you go
Yes,
out every night, or
we are actually very fortunate, Chuck. Uh, our research sites are very close to villages.
good?
It's either an hour boat ride or an hour drive. So, having said that, we have access to a hot shower, a nice bed, places to charge, keep everything charged. So whenever I'm out from the forest, I back up daily. If I can, I would like to filter through and delete the blurry ones daily as well. But sometimes you come back, you're just so knackered. You just want to have a nice meal, charge up, uh, and yeah, I carry minimum of 3 hard drives with me all the time. So there's multiple backups.
And somebody was asking, JPEG or RAW or both?
Raw at the highest end raw. Only when there is a need for that image, only then I'll edit and convert it into JPEG. So if it's going into a report, then it's a medium resolution. If it's going to publication, then maybe it's going to be exported as a TIFF. But everything is just still kept in RAW in multiple backups.
So you addressed this earlier. Would you use solar panels on your backpack? Somewhat, but I don't know if we had asked the question about solar panels.
I did address it. I know a couple of friends using it, but I've not had the need to use it yet because we have access to the cities.
Right.
And
Okay.
there used to be more frequent power outages in the villages, not the cities. Sorry, in the villages that we live in, but that seems to have stabilized. But anywhere we travel is always additional batteries, extra batteries.
David, you got any questions?
Well, there was another question, and I just noticed in there. Could you go back over the camera bodies that you're using?
Okay. So I'm currently using on a Z7 II, D4S, and 7200. They're all Nikons. Those are the ones that I have in my dry cab right now. So
I love the D7200. That was a great camera.
it still is.
Oh yeah, it still is.
Yeah.
It's like I recently got all my cameras sensor cleaned, and then Nikon having an event free sensor cleaning. Bring the cavalry. Here
Yeah.
you go. You said it's free. Clean it all.
There's just something about that D7200 sensor. That was a great camera. I loved that when I had it.
I was going to say the same thing about the D4. I had the D4. I know you have the D4S, but yeah, that was a fantastic camera. So you have the D7200, the Z7 II, you said,
Yes,
and
that
the
is right.
D4S. So what do you think about those files from the Z7 II?
Mate, it's I never worked on the 800 series from the Nikon, but it's like going from 16, 21 megapixel all the way shooting up to 45. For scientific research, I'm kicking myself because I should have done it much earlier. I get to zoom in and see more
Right.
details on what either the bird is eating or what the monkey is doing. Yeah, so it's a major leap. And what I'm not used to is the electronical viewfinder, because back then you see in action, you lift your camera and it's immediate live view. And now when you forget to turn it on quick enough, there's a slight delay.
Right.
So you do it black and then on. It's like, oh god. So every time I see something, my fingers already on the trigger, trying to wake the camera up. It's
Yeah.
like,
The Z9 is much quicker than the other ones as far as
I
waking up.
I did notice that on a Z9. I tried it
Yeah.
out early this year, and we were photographing. I was photographing bears in the rain. Man, it was tricky, but because it was one of the first production models of the Z9, and it could not focus on the bear, it could focus on the rain. Uh, it was tricky.
Uh,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm hiding in a very tiny spot. This is the only place with a roof and it's shade and so limited. But I had my trusty garbage bag, and manual focus and click away.
There you go. There you go.
My
Yeah. Well,
volume working yet?
Hey, we can hear you.
You hear
Yeah,
me
welcome.
now?
yes,
I
sir.
feel like I'm on a phone commercial. You know?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Hey,
ask a question or make a comment.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I tried to say before, but no one could hear me. I've had a question for about an hour. There was one thing that people always bring up when there's guests on the channel, or even just those of us and asking Chuck the same thing. Well, somebody will say, well, what do you got to do to be a wedding photographer? How can I make a living being a wedding photographer? Or tonight, how do I make a living being a wildlife photographer? And I follow a handful of wildlife photographers, and those that I follow, most of them really don't make a living strictly on taking beautiful pictures. I mean, they do seminars, they do photo trips, they take people out on photocentric trips, and they just strictly, okay, I'm going to go to a location, take a handful of nice pictures and make a living. It doesn't really seem to work that way. And you're more than just a wildlife photographer. You're like a Jane Goodall type almost. You're a naturalist. You're a conservationalist. You're documenting the effects that people um, have on the environment and on the wildlife. And you work with scientists. You work with a lot of different people, and you've been able to connect, and it's your life. It's not like, oh, I'm a wedding photographer, I shoot 2 weddings a week, and people download the files, and I make a decent living, or I'm a real estate photographer and I only got to go out and shoot a couple hours a day and I make a living doing that. I mean, it's not just making a living for a handful of people and you're one of them, where it's really such a big part of your life. And it's almost, I don't want to exaggerate, but I would say it's like a 24/7 thing. It's not like you flip the switch and, oh, I'm going to take the next 3 days off. I mean, you're always planning what you're going to do next. You're trying to figure out where you're going to go, what you're trying to document, what you're trying to capture. And it's so engrossed in your life now. It's not just, oh yeah, I just got to go out for 3 hours, take some pictures, and I can make a living doing it. It's just not like that. I mean, am I under assessing the situation here, or?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's so true what you're saying. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Um, it it's it sometimes is kind of like a mystery to me. Yes. It's not easy to make a living from this. But we've are fortunate to gain so much of support from so many foundations out there that is funding not only the project, but uh, and not all foundations do this, but they can fund salaries as well, and that helps. That really helps. And when you know that you're all right for a year or two, you don't have that nagging feeling on when's the next time I'm going to put bread on the table. You can just you're free, you're a free man to go out there and just uh, go photograph as much as you can, and just be on the road, and just you and your camera and rock and roll. And
Rock
it
and
is
roll.
all these foundations that we are ultimately thankful for, understanding what we are trying to achieve in the short term and the long term for the natural environment and the communities that live within this natural environment. Yeah, we are grateful for them. And yeah, it was never easy. It was never easy. 20 years of has not been easy. But I guess it goes with everything as well. You want something bad enough, you just keep at it, and you keep at it, and you keep at it, because my wife would say, he's a very stubborn kid.
I mean, being able to make a living in the genre that you're doing it in is probably one of the hardest genres to make a living at, period. I mean, like I said, it's not like someone is coming to you to ask for, oh, take my wedding shots. Oh, I need a headshot for the guys at the high level of the corporation. We got to do an ad campaign, or we got to do our portfolio for our board of directors or something like that. It's such a totally different genre that it's really hard for people to make it in that. And I think a lot of people, would like to think, oh, it's not that hard. There's a magic. Somebody just give me the secret word, and I can make a living doing it. And it doesn't work that way.
I think in this case, it's its own thing. It's not wildlife photography, although
Yeah, it's a
wildlife
lot
is what you're
more.
after.
Yeah.
It's the research and conservation, and photography, supports that. So this isn't one of those things people wake up in the morning and they got a camera and they like taking pictures. It says,
No.
I want to be out in the jungle, chasing some elusive animal or bird, and I want to
I
make.
want leeches on my back. I want leeches on my back.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is, nobody's saying, okay, I want to make a living at this. Not, I shouldn't say nobody, but it's so much different than all the other genres of photography,
Yeah.
or even wildlife in its, on its own. So we've got wildlife photographers in here, like you, Jeffrey, and David up there, and so many others over in the chat. And that's typically where those questions come about. How do I make money from my passion, taking photos of wildlife? But you've crossed over into something completely different, I think.
Yeah. You're way
Sanjit.
beyond that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not just how do I make a living at it. The living helps you continue your passion, it seems to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I think
you're
that's
trying to
fantastic.
make things better. You're trying to make things better. You're not just selling an image.
It's
And if you
yeah,
are selling an image, you're using the proceeds to help fix problems and help people, and that's a
Yes.
huge difference.
yes, and I think everyone has the capacity to do that. But the question is your willingness to do it. And one thing I really enjoy about photographing nature and wildlife, compared to that headshot or that wedding, is that the wildlife don't complain.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they
And
don't
you
ask
don't need
for it.
you don't
Yeah,
need a model release either.
that's right. Yeah.
And they
Hey,
don't
I just want to put
complain.
this up here, Jeff and Leslie Wildlife, because he's getting ready to tune out, but he wanted to thank you, Sanjit.
Thank you, Jeff and Leslie. But do stay connected, and everyone's on social media. So drop a line anytime, and even if you're coming down to Malaysia, just give us a buzz.
I think we shall, Sanjit, but you have to return that favor and stay connected with us. We'd love to have you back in here. And I'm not closing this out unless you're ready to go, but I'm just saying we need you to come back, and you need to bring your lovely wife, Ravinder, in here and let her talk to us about her side of this, because there are always two sides. Vahography, who isn't in here tonight, Vahagan, had Jerry Guionis on. Then he had Jerry Guionis and his wife on, and it was so interesting hearing how the two work together. And I think that's always something that's interesting to folks. So, and thank her. We thank her for allowing you to have this time with us.
It would be fun. It would be fun. Yeah, I mean, she's got amazing outlook and all of this, and uh, some of the stories that we lived through together to get those images, and having those guys coming to extract us from those kind of situations, those dangerous situations. um yeah, I mean, her rendition of the stories are amazing. Yeah, she's always fun to talk to.
Now, does she end up picking up the camera from time to time as well, or is she documenting everything and letting you do all the photographic work?
Well, she did for a while, because when we were dating long time ago, I would spend 2 hours at a mushroom, and she would spend 2 hours with her hands on the hips. I was like,
Uh,
what is he doing with that
That's
mushroom,
not
man?
good if she's wondering why you're fascinated with a mushroom more than you are with her. That doesn't go over well.
And so yeah, and so yeah, I mean, good old saying, right? If you can beat it, join it. And she tried out macro for a bit, and oh my goodness, man, she is amazing at it. She's got the knack and the eye for macro. And but I guess work came into play, studies came into play. She's a lecturer with the university here now, and recently got her PhD as well. Uh, but all that hard work has just, yeah. Oh, there it is. Now she's a doctor. Yeah, she's a doctor.
Does she
Yeah.
make you does she make you call her doctor?
Nah, honestly, she's such a humble human being, man. It's like it's unimaginable how
No,
humble.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, to tease her sometimes I do.
Or maybe she makes you call her that if she's mad at you, right? You could call me doctor.
And I think there was a question from Mike. Do you try to project a submissive role towards the larger wild animals you photograph? To pose no threat, hide behind your mates. That don't work. Hide behind your mates if that don't work. Actually, I'm the slowest guy on the field because I want to save my gear. It's my only gear that I have. Uh, but honestly, towards larger animals, whenever we are photographing elephants, and um, occasionally we do go out and hunt for them. Sometimes on boats. So from a boat, we can always keep that distance. When we're on land, I try to photograph elephants that are very, they're far enough and will give you time to jump back into your car and speed off just in case they come charging down. But for me, what I realized was one of the best ways is to photograph them from above a valley, right? So, but not too high up. So the elephants are below you, and you have a slope in between. So if they do begin to charge, it gives you some time to at least save yourself if you can't save your gear. But knowing me, if they are charging up towards you, I'm most probably thinking of which lens to change to before I run. So change lens, get a few shot,
Uh,
and and it's a rule. It's a rule on any road trip. You see elephants, you see wildlife, stop the car, pop the trunk, so I can get the gear out and shoot. Yeah.
Normal photographer.
Pretty much.
I don't care what you shoot. That's the typical photographer. I stopped a car on an interstate so I could take a photo of a lenticular cloud. The guys that were with me thought I was crazy. Why are you taking a picture of a cloud?
It's got tomorrow's lotto numbers on it.
Oh man.
But
Oh,
no, really, guys. I'm open. It's Sunday. I've loosened up. I think my wife put something in the coffee to loosen
there
me.
you go. That's great. That's great. Well, I got to ask this question since Vahagan isn't here. I have to ask. Music. What do you listen to?
Oh wow! My goodness. A wide range of music, really. It's mainly about it's mainly rock and roll. I mean, I could go back. When I was a kid, I was uh, had my dad's old Elvis vinyls, and that was the only thing that was available. So yeah, it goes way back there. From ACDC to all the heavy metal rock and rolls. You know,
So,
I
who's
mean,
your favorite band then, rock and roll band? Because this is a question that I'm asking for Vahagan because this is what he asked.
it's so hard to put your finger on a favorite when there's so many good ones out there. But I'm currently listening to Shinedown. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then you got
Yeah,
Slash
love Shinedown.
Miles, and you got Slash and Miles, and oh my goodness, there's so many guys out there. It's like good old Aerosmith. Hey, they're still rocking.
Yep.
I think they're coming up with their 50th anniversary soon.
Yeah,
Wow.
they'll be getting on the stage with walkers before long. Oh, here you go. So that's a good question. Do you listen to music to pass the time in the blind when you're out there?
No, I can't. I can't because you need to be aware of what may be creeping up from behind you. So we there's a strictly no headphone rule in the forest. Yeah, because it
Okay.
could be as simple as a scorpion. You want to be aware that it is there, and listening to music will distract you. Um, and
Okay.
a lot of times, I depend on sound while in the forest. It's not about. It's sometimes looking for new hornbill's nest, but a lot of times before the hornbills approach the nest, you hear them first. So listening to music, you're gonna miss your shots, or you're gonna miss clicking the record button on your video quick enough before it reaches the nest. Um, Hornbills, they would have some sort of a perch, and they would rest there, and they'll kind of like make a small sound like a oh, or honey, I'm home, and then comes and feeds the female and the chick. Hornbills that are coming from really long distances, you can hear the flapping of the wings. So we don't plug in. We just really need to be very, very tuned in while we're there.
How long does it take you once you go into the field, the forest,
Oh,
to get acclimated to the sounds, the smells, and everything? Is it just in a few minutes, or does it take you, a half hour before you're really in tune?
Um, honestly, I'm still learning. There's a lot of sounds that I still do not know, and what we thought could have been a squirrel was actually a gray langur. I've heard weird sounds. I swear it's a bear, but uh, uh, until today we do not know. But um, everything is not too far away to get acclimated. I could go to a mangrove forest that's less than an hour's drive from here, and next to the mangrove forest is a secondary forest, so you get the best of two worlds there. So there's a lot of sounds that I'm still learning. I'm learning as I go along. um, and we always go in as a team. So there's the team that's led by the wife. She
Same
leads.
here. Same here. Don't feel bad. Same here.
I mean, she leads in terms of giving directions and all. You know what I mean? To the
Same
entire
here.
team. And yeah, and our team members that are in Sabah, Borneo, they are very well versed with the forest, so they know all the parts, and we go with them. I'm never in there alone, and we no one person is ever left alone in the forest as well. There's always someone within sight at least. So if you can't speak loud enough, you can still signal each other. It's like, is there a bear? Is there elephant? Is there orangutan? Elephants, orangutan. What do you hear? So we try to stay as quiet as possible as well. So it's a lot of like signaling, and of course the best signal is, have you eaten?
Have you eaten? Oh, so
Do
setting up
you?
your blinds. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
I was just wondering, do you set up camera traps very often, or just once in a while?
Camera traps, the ones that we have is all in the other room. Those are we set it up very often. Whenever we put up a new artificial nest, there'll be a camera trap that's set up there. It's going to go on for between at least 3 months, 3 to 4 months maximum. Because previously we found out that all the subjects are distracted by this camera and deters them from nesting. So once we remove that camera, if we are lucky, it'll take a season or a following season until the birds get used to those boxes and start nesting there. Um, Similar to all the cavities that we have restored to make them hornbill suitable. And these cavities could have been used previously by the hornbills. Um, and abandoned. So we go in there, we investigate. We're kind of like doing home improvement for them, renovating their home, and they come back. So we always place a camera trap there as well. Um, but those are the trail cams. Those are trail cams. So we're currently using the Browning cameras. I know there's the Reconics, there's many other brands out there, but Browning has given us the best visual quality so far. And for photo traps, I have still in my cart. I'm supposed to check out the cam traptions. I'm just trying to figure out if I leave my D4S in the forest with the IR trigger. I firstly need a subject, so I thought I'll go out and try to photograph some otters. So I'm just trying to figure out which lens I should get for that, and how do I deter the macaques from stealing my D4S and dumping
Ah,
it
yeah,
to
yeah,
Malaysia?
yeah. We don't
Yeah.
have that issue here. We don't have things that will steal your camera gear. They might gnaw on it, but
Oh, here, yes, the macaques steal your cameras. We had a camera trap placed over 22 meters up in a tree facing the nest box. It's now facing the sky. Uh, I've seen videos of Asian elephants kicking around camera traps like a football.
I
Yes,
saw
so
some video of that. Yes, they detect it. They know it's in a tree or a high spot, and they've knocked down cameras or trees because of it. That's pretty wild.
do your camera traps Wi-Fi back to base? No, they don't, because there's no reception in the forest. And we also, by turning on the Wi-Fi feature, the batteries deplete much quicker than it should. So to get this important data, we try to turn off as many features as possible, but leave the video recording or the photo recording on. So each camera could either work on video, photo. But yeah, we turn off the rest. The Wi-Fi, if it's got Bluetooth, we're going to turn it off because we want to conserve as much batteries. And to get the climbers to even install the cameras, it's it's quite a task. It takes minimum half a day to the entire whole day. So with all that effort, we would like them to stay up there, and hopefully it works perfectly for as long as it can.
So we touched on this earlier. Maybe it was when we were in the green room, Sanjit. What's next on the calendar for yourself?
Wow. I still want to go out there and document more on the helmeted hornbill, because I missed out on so many chances to document the Sumatran rhino, and I don't have a single picture of a Sumatran rhino. So um, I want to document species. I want to complete the documentation. Of course, it will never be complete in a lifetime. There's always something new to be discovered.
Right.
But I want to complete documenting endangered Malaysians, so to say. So these are critically endangered wildlife and endangered wildlife species as well. So, it'd be cool to document all the endangered Malaysians, but in relative to wildlife. So it is something that will never end. But as wildlife species are being, you know, listed upwards on the international union, it's just it gives me more to do, but it sadly gives the wildlife less of a chance to survive longer until we can do something about it. So the documentation of the macaques that are with plastic straws, hopefully someone could pick it up and say, very true. What happened to no plastic straws? We should put that back in the constitution, or something like that. So
Hey,
it's yeah, it's. I know I don't really have a fortified plan yet, but I feel that these plans and these ideas actually come out when I'm out there observing and photographing and being with this wildlife. So
so with everything that you've done so far and done with Ravender, have you guys actually influenced the government in Malaysia to look at some species, or have you been successful in them not just taking a closer look, but actually enacting any kind of legislation or anything like that?
um, yes, but our role is very small. That we what we do is we advise and we provide evidence on why it should go up into either enactment or legislation, why it should go up there. So we work very closely with other NGOs that work on environmental legislation.
Right.
We give them this evidence and they push it up because uh, it is their
But
job.
And that's what I'm talking about. Have you guys provided any evidence that's actually been used and effective in some legislation, or at least the thinking about legislation?
Yes, we have provided that, and there
Well,
is actually one.
congratulations. You need to pat yourself on the back, buddy. That's fantastic.
I'll go pet Ravinda when I find. Then I'll give a great big hug from you guys as well. Uh,
Absolutely.
I think I hear her laughing, but um, yes, whenever we there is an arrest and wildlife parts are found, a lot of our pictures are being used to identify is this which hornbill is this. So,
Okay.
and sometimes it comes back to us and say, "Hey, can you help us identify this species that we found in the poacher's backpack?" Another place that I've worked with together with another NGO, um, there we went looking for the flying foxes, the roosting, and the NGO found it. And I said, hey, it's really cool. If I can come photograph this, I won't charge you a thing. All you need to do is just feed me. It's like, and I went up there and spent time, took about a couple of hundred pictures, and I passed it all back to them. And they took these pictures. They went to the state government and say, hey, this island should be gazetted as an important marine park. Not only you have the mega bat roosting up there, but you have giant clams around the area that is being poached. Uh, and these guys are coming in at nights in small boats, and they're just taking out these giant clams. Honestly, you can hug a clam, and they're taking it
Wow.
out from the ocean in front of everyone's eyes. So um, that has been passed on, and recently there was a team of marine researchers that's gone to do the initial survey. So if it is gazetted as a marine park, the mega bats on the island get protected as well. So hopefully that goes through soon.
Yeah,
So
Ravinder made a comment earlier talking about it takes a while to be trusted, or I can't remember the exact, I can't quote her. So all that's your resume, though. I mean, that all the opportunity, not opportunities, but what you do being passed on, and when your photo is a part of the reason, or the research that Ravinder's doing is part of the reason that they begin to look at it. That's fantastic, and that just promotes you all even more. So I'm going to be John Ishii here for a minute. You need to get your book out, and you need to
Yeah.
let people know these things, because that gives you more opportunity to do what you want, what you love.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's just
I'm not trying to shame you into anything, but man,
no, it's like no, it's like
you
I
need to
told
feed that
myself.
passion.
I told myself this year, and it's actually even published in the local daily about your resolutions for this year. And I say, I need to complete my book. So I've got 6 more months to complete that book.
so so we're not even on the cover yet, right?
Well,
Uh,
then you have to go on the book tour and promote it and sell it and do guest speaking arrangements so people know what you do, and because you're the more you wake people up, it isn't just dealing with the people in Malaysia. I mean, there are problems all over the world that are similar that don't necessarily have someone like you and your wife and your teams doing this stuff. And you get out there and you do a book and you explain what's going on. People will hopefully wake up and help financially help out a little bit, and things could get even better.
Hey, thanks, Joe, for listening in. You saw John and John talking about getting together with you and Ravinder. You,
let's
you
go.
just and then John, Diana's hornbill crazy. No, I only bring it up, Sanjit, because it's more credibility for what you guys do, and the opportunity. If you promote that, that's more opportunity for people to look you up and say, "Hey, I love what you're doing there." I know it's already being done, But pat yourself on the back. Be happy to let people know that all that's happening. And maybe you are, I don't know, but the more you're recognized for what you do, the more people will seek you out to do it even more, and that just feeds your passion, man.
It is, and I can't imagine doing anything else. I just, it's just one thing is just being with the camera and just going outdoor and it's discovering things. I mean, it personally, I mean, it soothes my soul, and I feel so much at peace when I'm just out there in the wild,
Right.
and because let's face it, everyone is just faced with the troubles of the world that goes on in the daily news, and this happening, that happening, and all that. So it kind of stirs you up, and it riles you up, and you just get your blood boiling about issues that don't even relate to you, but
Yep.
somehow they
Yep.
all do. So maybe I'm creating an excuse for myself to run away from it all, but maybe being
No.
in the forest is what's welcoming me because they need my help.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're being humble, and that's wonderful. It's a wonderful trait. But what you can't fix is all the other stuff you were talking about. And I know that feeling. I quit watching the news because I can't fix any of it. You know, but you are doing something good though in place of dealing with all that. So I just think it's fantastic, man. I'm so glad John brokered this introduction. I am. I think it's fantastic, and I want you back in here again. You stay in touch because as you guys begin to travel this road, Ravender and yourself, whatever your next project is, you got to come back and talk to us about it. Tell us how far ahead you've gotten in that.
We would love to. I mean, I think we were supposed to be in Utah this year, but I think that conference got canceled. And anytime we're in the U.S., whichever cities that you're in, while we're already there, we'll just come over. But
Oh, I guarantee you, if there's any chance, I'd definitely do it.
and
But John didn't want to come back over here. He doesn't like us anymore.
it's the gas prices.
Yes, yes. Uh,
No, definitely. We always enjoy engaging, making new friends. There's only so much I can talk to animals about, but I love I love humans too.
yeah. David, what do you got up there?
Well, I was just sitting here looking through his Instagram posts here of his fine art, and it's just incredible. I'm in awe at all these photos.
Thank you. I mean, this it started out with the tigers. I went to bed one night and um, I woke up and I had this idea, and my wife goes like, "Where you going?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go take a leak. I'll be right back." And I came down and sat here. This is pretty much the office. And I started working. I just started working on the images of the tigers, and then next thing I know, the office door creaks open a little bit, and wife goes leaning against the door panel. It's like, "Do you know it's 8 o'clock in the morning?" It's like, "Nope, I've been here all morning," and I spent two nights, just having that idea, and somehow just in your sleep I figured out how to do it. So like, okay, let's start cracking. And I did a set of over 30 tigers in like 48 hours. And yeah, I never went back to bed until I was finished and I was satisfied. So like,
Yeah,
yes.
they're
I have.
incredible.
So it actually
So
started out with the tigers, and then I started working on series uh, of endangered Malaysians. I know some of them are not Malaysian species, like the rhinoceros or the cassowary, but I just thought they would be really cool if they're presented this way.
yeah, they are.
Yeah, yeah.
Are they a lot of them? Are they shots during the day that you've just converted to look like this?
Yeah, most of them are shot during the day,
Yeah,
um, because I'm honestly afraid to use a speed light or a flash for wildlife because I'm afraid on how they would react because it would be shocking to them of this quick burst of bright light that
Sure.
most of the time they would relate to it as lightning. So go take cover if there's lightning if you're ever out in the wild. And I I'm a fan of natural light, and whenever I'm doing portraits of wildlife, it needs to have that natural catch light in its eye.
Mm-hmm.
So if I were to go out there and use a flash or a speed light or something like that, that element will not appear anymore.
Yeah.
Um, I think the Cobra. I mean, we had LED panels, but they were quite far away. It's just to help uh,
Show us,
shadows.
Sanjit. Share your
Uh,
screen and show us here.
Yeah, I was just looking at the cobras. Those are I'm into snakes and especially cobras. They're
uh,
really cool.
so it says here, stop sharing screen. Hold on. Window. Here we go. So yeah. So it started out with a series of tigers. So it's pretty much like kind of like that one. I'm not sure if yeah. Let me just brighten my screen a little bit. Started with that one. This one got sold, and yeah, proceeds went back to an NGO for their tiger projects. I think we collect. It was another silent auction that we had, where anyone who wanted to bid just come and fill the form or send a text, and we'll update you. Um, this series of tigers, yeah, it's what I worked on like overnight for 2 days straight. These landscapes these are actually quite interesting landscapes. If I should blow it up here, uh, they're they're actually riparian trees, and they're at the riverbank. And to get down there, there's a particular time of the day. I mean, most of the time, evening towards sunset, and we were quite lucky on that evening that the water was still and it was kind of brackish. And trying to get your camera, trying to get low enough to the water's level uh, should be done very, very carefully because there are crocs in the river. And of course, we're photographing from a boat. So while the rest of the team is looking for hornbills and fascinated with all the other wildlife that's around the area, it's like, nice light, switch 24/70, shoot off the boat. And it became this series because the light was just perfect on that evening, just illuminated uh, the important parts. And of course, in post processing, you just remove what any other stray elements that you find around there or there.
Yeah.
And one thing I do not enjoy is spending a lot of time editing photos. So it's like I rather spend time taking photos than editing photos. So a lot of this is just pretty minimal editing work. So it's like whatever stray elements that's around there, put a vignette on it, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, tigers. This
I love the orangutan.
the
Yeah.
orangutan. This orangutan was. I think this one was taken in Chester Zoo, where the orangutan swang or swing. Yeah, if that's such a word. I mean, it came from across the cage, and it came to show the Malaysian hornbill princess. Hey, look, I got a young baby. So the orangutan came over to present the its young to my wife, and that was quite a
Yeah.
moment. And that emotions in her eyes is is what we always look for. Whether you're photographing weddings or photographing streets or corporate portrait, is always that emotion in that eyes that you're looking for.
No,
But it's
I love this technique on the black background. Again, Gutran Ruper has been doing it for a while, and it's just fantastic because I mean it forces you. Well, it doesn't force you; it gives you everything you want to see, and there's nothing distracting with it.
Yeah. Correct.
This
I
one
mean,
of
you're isolating the subject by getting rid of the distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this one, of course, the young was about 5 years old. This helmeted hornbill, young male, and it was in captivity. Unfortunately, I mean, we don't think it survived, and I have to go back and check. We heard that it did not survive, but I need to go and see for sure. Um, yeah, so it's a series of helmeted hornbills of this particular individual, just in a variation of angles. And as we can see, the cask is just developing. It's not fully developed yet. Uh, the adult male will have a cast just right about there, slightly larger and straight before it curves. So
Uh,
you can tell that it's very young.
hmm.
And and one season I was just fascinated with animals with casks. The cask would be the helmet. I think, if not mistaken, cask is a French word for helmet. And so I started doing some research about cassowaries. I'll go to the bird park or the zoo and just sit outside their cage, photograph them, and kind of figure out what it is and do some reading. And there was some literature that actually says for the cassowary, um, cask is some an element or an extension of his body to help release heat, right? So it helps keep the birds cool, because
like a
medicine.
like a their built-in radiator.
Yeah, built-in
Yeah,
radiator.
built-in radiator.
Uh, of course, with silver leaf monkeys, I was fascinated with this cask. So you can see kind of like the transition that's going on here. So a bird with a cask, and then a primate with a mohawk. So it's the evolution of my trail of thoughts. I was like, and of course, yeah, silver leaf monkeys, very tame, very shy primates. But there are certain places in Malaysia that you can get very close to them as well.
Hmm.
They are free roaming. Unfortunately, people feed them, and recently there's been cases where these monkeys, they are young, are being kidnapped, because
Oh,
when they're born, they're golden, orange golden in color. They're being kidnapped. We were there. We managed to intervene uh, with this. Unfortunately, it's a young girl that's kidnapping monkeys to sell on the open market.
uh, uh,
Uh, and they're on the road, so they're being run over by cars as well. So we're trying to get some photographic evidence to try to get the city council to be more cautious of allowing more vehicles or controlling the crowd that goes up there.
hmm.
Elephants, of course, fantastic, fantastic, beautiful animals, and photographing them is a joy. Being close or being too close to them is like, it makes your blood pumping. So interactions between young and other young and older elephants, and of course, elephants with their trunk up. Um, they it, it's something very sacred to so many cultures here in Asia. For the Hindu culture, the elephant with the trunk up, means that it's happy. For the Thai culture, elephant with the trunk up means prosperity. So
Hmm.
whenever you're around any place with a lot of nature and wildlife, because Malaysia is such a diverse country, we've got different races, different religions, different cultures. But it's that difference that makes us all special, and we unite because we all respect that. And in every culture in Malaysia, there are different meanings to wildlife. It's the elephant with a trunk up or a trunk down. It means something in different cultures. So it's really cool that there's so many variations to one image that you can take or create.
Yeah.
Well, you're
So
doing some fantastic work, sir. Some beautiful photos. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, make sure you get over to his Instagram, and it gives you a real good idea of what's going on. That's Jits Pics on Instagram, or Jits Pics underscore fine art. So both, I would suggest, go check both out. Yeah, I was checking out your just jits picks, and I, I, there's just so much of a variety in that.
Uh, yeah, yeah. It's uh, it's strange, I'm just moved by, you know, almost anything and everything, and sometimes you go into this craze, and it's like right now I really want to photograph more otters, so I'm going closer to the water bodies, into the mangroves, and but yeah, no, it keeps me moving. It keeps me moving. It keeps me creating. Um, yeah.
Well,
Uh,
that's one of the things about having a live stream and having folks like you on too, Sanjit, is it motivates people to want to get out and shoot. I can't shoot what you're shooting, but I still get motivated. It's like, no, I want to go shoot some wildlife now. I mean, the most exotic thing I have in my backyard is a crazy squirrel,
I
but
was just gonna say squirrel. Yeah.
yeah, but it motivates you. It kind of inspires you to say, or people to say, well, I want to go try this. I want to go shoot something now. So it's always good, especially when you see photos like yours.
yeah. Well, it's like it doesn't strike me like a bolt of lightning. I follow a lot of photographers. I'm amazed by so many photographers' works, and it collectively, these styles of photography, or even like post processing. Uh, like there's a question, ram run light on a tiger. That is a challenge. Yes, it is, but it is from doing all this visual research, and it's like it's either dropping one or two, or just coming up with your own formula, uh, that is that creates the artwork, or creates the image. um, I'm not a purist that everything that I need to shoot needs to be in color, in a certain tone, or everything is in monochrome or sepia or something like that. Different images appeal to me in different shades of color, and the otters that I'm currently working on, they're going to be in black and white, or they're going to be in monochrome. They're not they're not going to be in color, but for some reason I just feel intuitively that it is better presented that way. And I think the audience could relate more to the subject if it's presented that way. I can't get too technical about it because I honestly do not know. But it's an intuition, really. It's an
Right,
intuition. Yeah.
right. Well, I'll tell you what, you're doing a fantastic job. I love your work, and it's been fantastic having you in here. I know I've said that several times, but I do mean it. I like the fact that you're willing to come in here and talk to the audience and talk to everybody. It's not often you find people that are humble enough to lower themselves to actually talk to the audience. I hate to say it that way, but there are people that they come on, it's my time. Everything's about me. No, no, it is about you, but the whole point is share it with everybody else because people have questions and they want to ask and get answers, and you've definitely done that tonight.
No, man. Chuck, I'm a fan of the show. I've been whenever I'm in town, it's like driving to the market. The phone's on. It's like sorting out the food. Whenever we're back from the market, the phone's on the table. You know, I'm pretty much on every weekend.
Well, I appreciate that. I really do. And yeah, I've said that before too. My show's more audio than it is visual. And so, people can drive around or whatever and just listen. You don't miss much on the visual side unless we have beautiful photos like Sanjit has. So looking at us is nothing. I understand why
No,
people
no.
would just listen.
I think most of the time people would be happy if they just saw this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
Mozman says we're very lowly in the chat.
Yeah, yeah. We're the
Uh,
bottom feeders, you know.
uh, no, and that's why I asked you in the beginning, Sanjit, are you okay with conversing with the audience? And of course, you said yes, and you've done that. But you'd be surprised. Some people aren't about that. I don't know why, but I don't know. Some people just want to come on a show and talk about themselves, and okay, that's what you come on the show for. But my point here is that they don't want to help anybody or to answer. I've got a presentation I've got to get through, and no, this is a community, and you fit right in, Sanjit, and we appreciate that.
I it gets pretty lonely if I'm just presenting and it's going from slide to slide. It's creepy. If I'm just presenting and everyone's just watching you, and nothing's moving, you never know if is there life at the other end of this screen. To me, it gets lonely. It's creepy.
I
When it,
I tried to blink my eyes a few times just so you knew I was alive. Although you couldn't hear me most of the show, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, Sanjit, next Saturday night, we're going to do a photo review. Everybody's going to submit a photo, not a critique. I mean, unless somebody wants, the audience or somebody to critique, but everybody's going to submit a photo. It's just an opportunity for everybody to show what they're out there doing. Whatever your favorite photo is, or whatever, whatever you want to present, and just we're going to have a get together on the show next Saturday night. And we're just going to talk about it, show off your work, show off what you're doing. And again, because it inspires others, you may be shooting something people hadn't even thought about. So that's what Gustavo's saying is, hey, invite Sanjit to submit a photo. We'll just pull up his Instagram, but you're welcome to, if you like, Sanjit, you're welcome to throw a photo in.
yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll just throw in. I mean, not throw in. I'll just throw in a couple of authors that I've been working on because I would like to hear other people's opinion. Anyone's opinion about It,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. If you'd like to do that, we'd love to have it, and we'll definitely talk about it. The only thing I'm asking everybody to do is make sure it's at least 2048 on the long side, 2048, and then just email it to me. And I'm putting them all in a folder, and we're just going to go through them one at a time and talk about it. Let everybody show off what they're doing.
this is amazing. I never had a panel of curators before.
Curators.
I don't know that you do now, but we'll definitely look at it and ooh and ah and talk about it for certain.
I think we look more like archaeologists, but
But yeah, you're more than welcome. And anybody that would like to participate, we'd love to have people, whoever would like to do it. So you can pass that word on. And yeah, we're just gonna pull the photos up and go through them one by one. That's what the show for next Saturday night is all about. Until we run out of photos, and then we'll just get in here and talk nonsense like we usually do.
yeah, or until we break your your record for time, Chuck. We might do that next Saturday. That could happen.
I passed that on to Sanjit. I said my streams usually go at least 3 hours, but the record's 5 hours, or just 3 minutes short of 5 hours. Yeah. They wear me out, Sanjit. They kill me. They won't let me go. I think everybody enjoys being in here talking. There's more chat. There's something that happens here that's really extraordinary, and I love it. There are questions that come up. There are things that people talk about. There's a whole other conversation at times going on in the chat of people helping each other, talking about equipment, how to fix this or how to do this or that. And it's just fantastic because there are so many knowledgeable people over there, much more knowledgeable than I am. And that's what everybody comes for. It's just, again, the big community, get together, talk photography, listen to me rant, or tune me out and have their conversation in the chat. And I understand that. But
And that is also what we're trying to create here in Malaysia with the world of conservation. It's like, we should collaborate. We should stop competing against each other. We are all in it for the same reason. Why? We should just come together as a big community. Although you could be working with tigers, elephants, birds, whatever other species, but strength in numbers.
yeah. Well, if there's anything that we can do on our end to promote you and what you're doing, and what our vendors doing, just let us know. We'll definitely throw that into on a regular basis. We'd love to do that. And that goes for, all of us. We help each other out. We're smaller channels. We try to lift each other up because the big channels don't care about us. So, but that's the other thing about this community. Everybody's so giving and everybody's willing to, do this. So anyway,
I mean, ditto, man. If you need anything from our region, just give a shout, and we'll try to, help you out.
I appreciate that. I really do. But yeah, like I said though, the invitation to be here anytime you want is open. Just send me an email, send me a text, whatever it is, and hey, what's going on? And I've got some more stuff that we've done, whatever it is, or just to come in and be part of the group, just talking. Either way, but you're more than welcome to come back.
Thank
But
you.
you have to bring your wife on one of them. We got to hear that dynamic. And now John has told me over here in the chat earlier that she has some wonderful stories to tell. So
Yeah,
we don't want to
she
miss out on
does.
that.
She does. Here she is. Yeah. I'm gonna give it a share.
No, don't.
Yeah.
It's like
I need to
I,
stretch.
I don't mean to hijack the show.
No,
No,
no, you're not.
that's all
No,
right.
no. We did the same thing with John Ishii and his wife Diana, and she came on, and it was a dynamic show because she was on as well,
Yeah.
highlighting her photography and seeing the other side. We don't get to see the husband and wife team very often. And, I know you're an integral part of what he does, and he is for what you do. You guys are a fantastic team. Why not showcase you as well?
I don't know. I mean, the way he tells his stories and all that, they're so captivating.
Well,
I don't know.
they
I don't know
are.
if I can match up to this.
Oh, it's just, and congratulations on your PhD, doctor,
Oh, thank
and
you.
Yep.
and for what you're doing with the hornbills. That's fantastic.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, what Sanjit does for us for the project, it's really it's huge. I mean,
Yeah,
the things that we've learned about the birds, and also it's a great way to impress our funders as well.
I I think it's fantastic, and like I said, I'm a small channel. We're small channels. We're growing, but there's anything that we can do to promote you guys over there and raise awareness, just let us know.
Mhm. Yeah, and I really enjoyed this session. It was really interesting. And then I can't believe so many hours have gone by.
You see how fast time goes, and I usually warn people. They'll say, "Well, I have an hour," and I'll say, "Okay, that's fine. You can stay as long or as little as you like," and I pass that on to Sanjit. But most
Yeah,
find that they're in here 2 hours before they even realize it, and they're saying, "Wow, time flies." So
yeah.
yeah, we have a wonderful, wonderful community that we have going here in the chat room. It's fantastic, and that's the big thing here is giving them a voice too to be able to talk to you and your husband and others that come on here.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And I think it's true. A lot of people what is the comment there? Ah,
Uh,
actually, my best pictures are of him. So if you
oh,
look at his Facebook,
oh, yeah, we've seen. I saw him going through Instagram there. Oh,
I
all right.
think
So, Ravinder,
Diana has the better gear though, right? Right, Chuck?
yeah, she does. Ravinder, you're welcome in here anytime as well. Okay.
thank you. Yeah, I look forward to the next session.
All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. Uh,
Wonderful, wonderful causes, wonderful just capturing the world as you see it where you are. I mean, that's just and sharing it with people. That's the thing. Get the word out and get that book
Yeah.
done and share it with the world, man.
Yeah, and earlier there was talk about how to break into this, how to be a wildlife photographer, and for me as well to be a conservationist and to get funding, to get a salary. We both had second jobs. We always said that conservation was our hobby, but that we spent 80% of our time on. But it
Right.
didn't pay the bills. I was a part-time tutor, so I used to go to people's houses and tutor English and science subjects. So that's how we made money. But we continued our work in the field, just running on passion. And now that we're in our late 30s, only then we start seeing people getting more confident in us, funders, and
No, 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 no. Whoa, 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 whoa. You had to say something wrong there.
what's that?
Did you say in your late 50s?
30s.
30s.
30s? I was
Oh,
going to
okay.
say, there is no way. I was going to just sign off right now. 'Cause
No, late 30s, yeah.
you guys look fabulous.
Oh, it's all the oxygen, from the forest.
Okay. All right. Oh, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I
No,
mean, it takes time for people to trust you, and then only now we are seeing big companies support our work, and yeah, before this it was just pure passion.
so tell Sanjit to get that book out so that you can
Yeah,
showcase what you're doing.
yeah, I keep
Yeah.
bugging him about it.
John, I'm gonna stay on him, buddy.
Yeah, you'd probably get even more corporate sponsorship if more people knew about what you did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
and
and
and I,
and we can find more local people. Because when I
yeah.
was doing my PhD, the guy I worked with, he uprooted his family from an island he lived on. He was a fisherman there. He uprooted his whole family, his kids, his wife, just to be close to my project. Because what I was paying him, a daily wage, was good enough. And I was
Wow.
shocked. I was like,
Wow.
my PhD, there's a certain time period, and then I'm gone. And then I realized that there's more to this. It's not just the animals. You're also working with communities, and
Right.
you're offering jobs to people in very remote locations. So because of this, we thought, okay, we're going to stay in Kinabatangan, in Sabah, and continue our work, even though the PhD is over. And yeah,
Well,
so
you
that's a
know what?
bigger responsibility. Yeah.
I can see the satisfaction on your faces. I can hear it in what you say. And why would you change anything? I think that's a
Yeah,
fantastic life that you guys are forging for yourselves.
yeah. And I think you did very well today.
Yeah, yeah, he did.
He did.
So,
We,
it's
we didn't
always
ask him. We didn't ask him too many tough questions. We
I
didn't ask
just,
him too many tough questions, though.
I just in our emails back and forth in our chats, in text or whatever, I just assumed he was a very open, fun guy, and he is. But I noticed at the beginning he was a little bit reserved. So now we've got the real deal Sanjit.
yeah.
So
She spiked my coffee.
Uh-huh.
so
Extra caffeine. Woohoo.
so that's exactly what I was expecting. So man, you guys are fantastic. I really appreciate you all
Thank you so
being in
much.
here.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's
No,
always
the
fun.
opportunity was ours. I mean, and the audience here.
You've already got book orders in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. A book that does not exist.
hey,
It's
you
really-
just do a GoFundMe page like most people do, and you get
Wow.
people to cough up the money first to pay for the publication, and then when it's published, they get the book.
Or as John
Everybody's
says,
doing that.
He's on must. He's on my speed dial.
Yeah.
I wish.
uh,
But it's
yeah,
you can definitely do a signing in each and every one of your towns.
Wow.
that's fantastic. I look forward to it. If that'll push you to get it done, then okay.
And actually, my motivation right now, I think it would be an IPA.
It's about that time, isn't it? It's no longer morning for you. It's now afternoon, or very close, a minute or two, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be 12 in the afternoon.
Yeah, 12 noon, so Saturday night.
Yeah.
Well, the next time you're on, hopefully Vahagan will be here, and you'll have to have your favorite rock and roll band shirt on for him.
Yeah,
Just
there you
say,
go.
Huh.
yeah. He'll be expecting you to wear a rock and roll shirt.
So we need to schedule this and have you all on and have John and Diana on at the same
Yeah,
time.
that'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. We'll have to work on that.
Anna's work is mind blowing as well. Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
So
And I actually met John because I interviewed him for an article.
oh,
Yeah, and he
okay.
wrote about the tsunami. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, he showed us some photos from that and talked about how he came about, being the only person, I guess, available at the time, and he
Yeah.
just got a scoop. I think it was fantastic. John
Mm-mm.
Ishii says, "Time for lunch, guys." No, I'll tell you what, this has been fantastic. I want to throw it around here and see if there's anything else in the audience here. Anybody has anything they'd like to ask Ravinder or Sanjit? Yeah, we missed the rock and roll photographer, no doubt about it. He had a long day on the beach. They were out shooting surfing and skateboarding and some other stuff. I can't remember. Mozman's in here, but I know a video's coming on that. But yeah, you guys have anything that you want to either pass on to Sanjit and Ravinder or a question? Make sure we let everybody know here. David, you have anything?
I was just going to say, this has been a great discussion, and it's really made me rethink what I do. I'm not going to be, out there in a rainforest or anything like that. But, my wife takes photos too, and we started this together just to get out in nature and just have fun and, take pictures of whatever came in front of us. And this was eye opening to hear your story and everything you're doing. It makes me rethink of, next time I'm out, I'm going to look at things differently. That's for sure.
Yeah, I only realized how important it is to get out during the pandemic when, there was a period of time where we had total lockdown. You could not even go out of your house. You could not even walk in your neighborhood. And that really hit me hard because I couldn't even walk and just look at some trees. And that was
Yeah.
really depressing, that
Yeah.
2 week lockdown, or it was a month, I think. See, I got, I like totally block it out. from
Yeah.
your mind.
Yeah.
You block
It's so-
out the bad news. You don't want to remember it.
Then they loosened it up to, okay, you can go for a walk, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, so yeah, it's really important to be out for your mental health as well. Sometimes
Oh,
when we start
absolutely.
fighting, we say, okay, it's time to go to the forest.
Yeah.
So, I would tell my wife I could go out back and I have sort of a bird sanctuary back there, even though I can't see it. It's so grown up now. But I could spend 3 hours out there and I come back in and she would ask, how do you stay out there so long? How many photos do you have? None. And, I may not take one, but it's just the peace of mind and everything else is blocked out. And, so
Yeah.
I understand that it's great therapy. It really is.
Yeah. He does this thing where he'll be taking pictures like for hours and then he'll go one as in finally he's got that one shot.
One
Yeah.
shot. Hey, yeah.
Yeah, after hours.
Oh,
Yeah, but you
man.
don't go beyond one.
Uh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't go beyond one
Yeah.
because
His standards are really high. So.
I'm just very critical of my own pictures, and most of them, just I don't know. I just don't feel that they're good to be presented. So I guess a lot of photographers have that kind of insecurity within them when you're not working for a client, but you're doing this for a different reason, and you just do not have any direction whether they're good enough for yourself before society views it. So it's a tiny battle that I have within myself, and very critical about the pictures that I take.
Yeah, we know each other since we were teenagers. So I used to tell him, send it out there to some competition. Let some international judge your pictures, and let's see what they say. And he's won so many awards. It still didn't really help. But the
Yeah.
confidence. But
Well, you tend to be your own worst critic.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's for
You're
sure.
The hardest. You're the hardest critic that you're ever gonna meet is yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I think, anyway.
Oh.
It is. I feel it, but as maybe I should spike my coffee even more. Just like listen up with how I feel with myself. But yeah,
And Ravinder, again, thank you so much for stepping in with him, and thank you, Sanjit, for kind of dragging her in there. It's nice to meet you. There's always a story behind a photographer, and it's usually his wife or her husband, but there's more to the story with you.
Yeah.
It's not just a supporting a photographer, but you're part of the story, and that's fantastic. It's just like
it's also very rare too. It's not too
yeah, it's
often
just like
where a husband and wife are working together on a common thing. That's very unusual.
But I think that's the reason why I stayed in this field long enough, because it's an unforgiving field. It's so tough working with local communities. They have a different mindset from you. We work with nomadic people. They live in the now, but you're trying to plan for like the next 2 years, the next 5 years. So it's really, really hard to work with people. But yeah, I mean, Sanjit keeps me going in this field as well.
well, man, it's very interesting field because there's so many highs and lows, and
Extreme.
and you never know what's going to happen next. And
Yeah.
I guess sometimes it's that anticipation that what's going to happen next. Let's just stick around long enough to find out.
This is where the show begins. Honestly,
Yep.
this is where the show begins because we've laid down all the got all the formalities out of the way. Not that it wasn't interesting, but this is what this show is all about. Just sitting here chatting. The chat room and invited to be part of the chat, and this is what I love about this. And you guys are now a big part of it, so you got to come back and see us more.
No problem.
The Hornbill session, yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, sure. We can have a Honda session. No
Yeah.
problem.
Hornbill special, yeah,
Yeah.
from Gustavo.
Yeah, I'm anxious to know all the ins and outs. I mean, you guys are documenting it, researching it, and how many chicks do they have? You don't have to answer any of this now. We don't want it now. We want you to come back and talk to us about that kind of stuff.
I mean, he brings the arts, I bring the science. So yeah.
It's fantastic, and that makes a fantastic team here. Is we get to hear it and see it. So great, yeah, absolutely. All right. I am going to let you guys go only because I've got to get up early in the morning. Typically, I got an excuse now. But man, I really enjoyed this. I really have, Sanjit. I knew it was going to be this way just in our little conversations that we had back and forth and emails and whatnot. Now I know who you are, and you're exactly what I expected. I could tell just in your very friendly nature as we chatted back and forth. It wasn't formal, and I love that. And now you're part of the family. You're part of the community. So no more of the formality. You're just one of us now, and we get to share you with so many other people. You and Ravinder. So, but I am going to try to get you all back with John and Diana in a show, and you guys can kind of take us around Malaysia through conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No
I think
problem.
it'd be fantastic. And John says that now we have all these friends in Malaysia. We have to come see you guys. I wish that was it's so fun to say that, but
Easy
difficult
to
to
say,
make it
hard
happen.
to do, right?
And you better be careful. If we all hit the lottery, we're all coming to see you at one time.
The dollar is very powerful here. So
Yep.
So you can
Yeah.
come on a budget.
Yeah, don't worry about the gas prices.
A plane load of
Oh.
people come off, and you go, "Who are these people?" And they're all wearing AP Studio shirts. You just run as fast as you can.
Oh boy.
All right, guys. Unless you guys have anything else, and you guys want to share anything with us before we go, uh, Sanjit and Ravinder, you guys have anything you want to share with us before you go?
I enjoyed the talk. It was
Uh,
really nice. You guys are really good at this, hosting this.
I, I don't know. I don't know why they want to come here, and it's not for me. It's just because I provide a platform and everybody gets to chat. And I'm okay with that though.
Yeah.
it's just like, well, to me, I'm ever so grateful to everyone that's always even a morning like this. It encourages me. It keeps my fire going to go out there, do a little bit more. It's like there's so many times in this field that you just want to pull out, but it's just little moments like this that keeps me going. And I wish to have conversations going, and at any time, anyone can just reach out to me or to us if you're coming down, or if you have any questions. We're all connected through social media. Just drop a line anytime. We're open to start a chat going. But
Yeah.
sometimes if we do not respond too fast, it's because we're in the field somewhere. But
Yeah.
we'll surely get back to you.
I understand that. I understand that.
And
You're
I,
hiding. You're hiding in a hide. You're hiding in a hide at that moment, with the
And I wanna-
lens sticking out through the netting.
yeah, that lens. I mean, thanks
Yeah.
to John Ishii. In a over coffee, Sanjit and John were talking, and Sanjit just said, "If you're ever selling that lens, call me."
Dibs.
And John actually called him just before we boarded a plane from Sabah to KL, which is a 3-hour flight. And he called John, say, "Hey, do you want the lens?" And Sanjit boarded the plane, and all he was like that, like, "How will I pay for this?" But yeah, I mean, he landed and he bought it.
No, that's
Very-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Why not?
So yeah,
It's-
we love you, John.
So Roy's asking, is there a place to make donations or to help out or something like that?
Oh, we sell merchandise because we are a social enterprise. We're not an NGO, so we can't really take donations. But we have I'm on the website. There's a shop,
Yeah.
but it's down at the moment because we are revamping the website. But we
Okay.
do sell coloring books and things like that. Yeah.
Is that where we're going to get Sanjit's book? Yeah, I'm not going to let it go, Sanjit.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let it go.
Now, I'm
He
gonna do
needs
it.
to write it.
I'm gonna do it.
Especially in 2019 when we spent 2 months with a bird, critically endangered helmeted hornbill. That book needs to be written because
Oh, I agree with you.
that female got poached in the end. She
Oh,
was
man.
Oh man.
We watched them over 5 years have 3 babies.
Yeah.
Mm.
So they're like family. So you have to write about them.
Yeah, and this is the part we want to hear too about this journey
Yeah.
with the hornbills.
Yeah,
Is all these different stories.
yeah. Kids.
All right, so I'll tell you what, David, you like to say something before we go?
Yeah, I just want to say, very, very good discussion. Enjoyed it 100%. And great work.
David, he has a channel, a YouTube channel. It's D Moots Photography. Let me get rid of this, and you'll see it on the screen there. D Moots Photography, fantastic channel. Birds, wildlife. Jeffrey Neville's Selective Imagery on YouTube, and it's just him out strolling with his birds and taking photos. And I tell him all the time he provides me with therapy because it's so relaxing to watch. He's concerned that he's using the same birds over and over. I don't care. It's still relaxing to me. I'm enjoying it. Jeff and Leslie Wildlife Photography, who are in here. They do videos on YouTube from time to time, and it's very relaxing. They do a lot of not just wildlife, but just out walking and showing the plants and the flowers and the things that grow naturally. So I'll tell you what, you know, you guys have been fantastic. Jeffrey, I'll pause here and let you say your piece.
I just take whatever I run into or whatever runs into me, whichever comes first, you know. But I have a good time. I mean, I like getting out, uh, seeing the world, and then you find yourself, the more you get into it, uh, you protect it. You see things that aren't right, and I've said it on my channel. You see something that's not right, something that's not being done right. Uh, Speak up and try to change it, try to make it better. And we all owe that to the environment, to the planet. You see something that isn't right, don't be afraid to speak up and document it, take pictures, and show it to whoever you got to show it to make change. That's so important to do that now. And then watching, you know, listening to the conversation tonight with you folks, just really sets the tone and reemphasizes the importance of just don't be a visitor, you know, to what you see. You know, I mean, really pay attention and get involved, because somebody's got to do it, and there's no reason why it can't be you. You know, you just got to step it up and do it. So I really love your work. I love going on your website. Phenomenal. And yeah, as Chuck says, whatever we could do to help you guys out, I mean, just let us know. It was fantastic. It was a pleasure meeting both of you.
Thank
It was
you.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, I hope so. And I know Sanjit, you're ready to go get a tanker. So I'm not going to hold you guys any longer because you know, I understand if it were noon here, it'd be different here too. But again, thank you both. Enjoyed it. I think the show really began when you stepped in, Ravinder, because we all loosened up and we just had a conversation, and that's what this is all about. Thank
I
you for
agree.
showing your work, Sanjit. Thank you for coming on the show. And again, now you guys are family, so there's no more of this formal trying to invite. You guys are welcome in here anytime. And I will be dropping you a link from time to time on the Saturday night shows. It doesn't mean, and please don't think that he's sent me this link, I've got to join. That's not the case. But I'll send it out just in case you would like to join in from time to time. It'll be there. Send it to John tonight. He just blew me off, doesn't care. I know why he didn't. I understand. I understand completely. Yeah. No, he did it for the right reason. I understand. No doubt about it. But again, you guys are fantastic. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you to take us out. Anything you guys would like to say before we go?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. You know, it's both a pleasure and honor. And have a great weekend ahead. You know, whatever you do, just remember you always got to rock and roll a bit.
There you go. All right. That'll make Vahagan really happy.
Yeah.
Going out on a rock and roll. No doubt about it. All right, guys. Thank you. Everybody, we'll be back Wednesday on the Daily Show, Wednesday at noon. Just so you know, I think, real quick, I think Jeff just dropped another video, selective imagery. I saw it pop up. And I know we're going to see more from David and everybody else out there. All right, guys. Again, thank you. Wonderful night. God bless you all. Everybody have a wonderful rest of the weekend, whatever's left of it. And we'll see you again Wednesday. And you guys, whenever you want to come back, okay?
Noted.
All right. All right, all. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.